Welcome back to Only Talk Sports, and tonight we've got the Eastern Conference Finals Game 5 between the Boston Celtics and the Miami Heat. This series is not done yet because Boston found a way to win Game 4, to not be swept like the Los Angeles Lakers were against the Denver Nuggets. That was crazy that Boston was able to find a way to win, and they start out this game well. They score the first points of the game because Miami missed on the other end. They got the jump, but then you had Jason Tatum all the way down the floor. He lays it in. So it's 2-0 Boston over Miami. Bam Adebayo, he's got the ball driving in as well, and he responds. So we've got a 2-2 ball game to start, 11:15 to go in the first quarter. Now Jaylen Brown, he's got the ball. He has been dealing with an injured arm, but he has still been playing at a fairly high level, trying to deal with that. Jason Tatum, he's got the basketball, kicks it over to Al Horford. Now it is over to Marcus Smart driving into the lane, and Marcus Smart is starting out this game fairly well. 4-2, Boston over Miami. Marcus Smart has been struggling in these playoff games, but that's a good sign for Boston to see Marcus Smart getting going. Now a turnover by Miami. Jaylen Brown down the floor, all the way to the rim to Marcus Smart. Marcus Smart misses the shot. Tatum misses the putback. Kevin Love with the rebound. He was looking for a foul, thought there was one, but there was not. So Miami will be going back the other way. Jimmy Butler over to Kevin Love, back to Jimmy Butler on Jaylen Brown, trying to back him down. Jimmy Butler fakes on Jaylen Brown. Then he scores a 2. What a shot by Jimmy Buckets. 4-2-4. 10-10 to go in the first quarter. And Gabe Vincent is out for Miami as well. So Kyle Lowry, he's having to start this game. So Miami is desperately thin at guard with Victor Oladipo, Gabe Vincent, and Tyler Hero all out in this game. You would think that would help out the Boston Celtics, even though Miami has been doing a great job despite all these injuries. They've been going out there and playing at a high level, even though they're not at 100% like the Boston Celtics are. But sometimes too many injuries can finally catch up with you. So we'll have to see if the Miami Heat can handle having all of these players out. But Jimmy Butler's still out there, and they've still got some really solid players. So Boston will still have to bring their A game. Boston misses on the other end. So Miami, they've got the ball. It is 4-4, 9:30 to go in the first quarter, and you've got a missed 3 by the Heat. Now Boston has the ball going back the other way. Marcus Smart, he's trying to dribble at the top of the key. Kyle Lowry is bothering, trying to get the steal. He is not going to get it right there. Still Marcus Smart with the ball. Marcus Smart kicks over to Jaylen Brown in the corner. Jaylen Brown's trying to drive. He gets around Bam Adebayo. What a block by Bam Adebayo. Now Jaylen Brown's on the floor. Somehow gets it to Jason Tatum, and Tatum misses the shot with 1 second on the shot clock. That would have been insane. I thought Miami had the ball for sure, but somehow Jaylen Brown ended up with it. 4-4. Bam Adebayo over to Max Strus to Kevin Love. Again, Miami with a lot of guys out, but still playing tough. Kevin Love misses a turnaround jumper, and Boston has the board. Jason Tatum going down the floor at the Boston Celtics logo, trying to drive by Kyle Lowry. Driving in the lane. What a dunk by Jason Tatum. 6-4, Boston over Miami. 8:40 to go in the first quarter. That is a fantastic play by the Boston Celtics. Get all the way to the rim. That is where Boston is at their best. I know they shoot a lot of threes, and they can win with a lot of threes because they hit 9 against the Miami Heat in Game 4, but still when getting to the rim like Jason Tatum just did, he eviscerated that rim. That is when Boston, to me, is at their best in transition, getting to the rim. But they seem to have called a technical foul on Jason Tatum. So it looks like after that dunk, they got him going for a technical foul, probably talking too much, potentially either the ref or maybe to the Miami Heat. Can't do that. You do not want to pick up silly technical fouls there and be able to give the Miami Heat some free throws, but it is what it is. So 6-5, Boston's still in front, but you cannot have that. Jason Tatum, a great dunk, but you got to be able to keep everything under control, not get a technical foul in that spot. Kyle Lowry up the floor in place of Gabe Vincent, who is out with that injured foot that he injured in Game 4 at the end of the game, but he tried to play the rest of the game, and he was really solid, but as they always say, injuries do catch up with you after the game once the adrenaline wears off. Turnover by the Miami Heat. It was going to be a turnover either way. Bam tried to pass it out, but Boston had the steal But then you also look at the fact that he traveled as well, and that's what they're officially going to call as a travel on that play. So it is Boston basketball up by 1, 6-5, 8:15 to go in the first quarter. Jason Tatum at the top of the key being guarded by Jimmy Buckets. Now he switches on over to Kevin Love. Al Horford in the corner for Jaylen Brown for three, and Jaylen Brown splashes home the triple. 9-5 Boston. That's a good sign for Boston because Jaylen Brown has been struggling to shoot threes in this series, specifically with his injured forearm that he suffered in game 1 when he fell to the floor. But Jason Tatum to Horford to Jaylen Brown. Very unselfish basketball. Boston is a really good passing team. Tatum and Brown have gotten a lot better at passing now than when they were first in the NBA. When they were first in the league, they were both unpolished passers, but both have improved mightily at passing the ball, which helps out the entire team because you can get open looks to the rest of your teammates because of the improved passing of the Jays. So 9-5 Boston. Miami, I don't know if the fact that they are shorthanded is catching up with them a bit right now, but they are definitely struggling a bit early in this game. Max Strus tried to kick it to Bam Adebayo, but a kick ball. Looks like Miami's just a little out of sorts right now. Looks like Boston is in better shape overall, but they are 100%. They've got all of their players. Miami does not. Can Miami hang on the road? If Miami's not able to win this game and it goes back to Miami in game 6, the Heat are going to have to find a way to win that game because that's going to be their best chance to finish off Boston. And if they can't win that game, then Boston could legitimately have a shot to be the first team to ever come back from 3 down. Turnover by the Miami Heat. Jason Tatum's got the basketball with Max Strus guarding him. Tatum trying to get a crossover dribble going on to his right. Tries to go over the shoulder instead with the jump hook. He instead passes it to Marcus Smart in the corner, and Marcus Smart drills another 3. Marcus Smart's hit 2 threes already in this first quarter. That's a great sign for the Celtics. 12-5 Boston. Now Jimmy Butler going down the floor trying to drive on Derek White. He misses the shot. Jason Tatum down the floor. 7 to go in the first. Tatum to Al Horford to Marcus Smart. Again in the corner wide open, and Marcus Smart, it's another one. 15-5, timeout Miami. Miami is going to have to settle this thing down because Boston, they are out for the Miami Heat right now. They want to win this game. They're at home. Miami is shorthanded even further with Gabe Vincent out now, along with Tyler Hero and Victor Oladipo. What a start by the Boston Celtics. 15-5, that is a great start. Jeff says, I'm here and ready. Come on, Celtics. Well, definitely. I appreciate you for being here, Jeff, but it's looking pretty good for the Boston Celtics as of this time. They are up by 10 points, 15-5, a great start. Something that Boston has struggled with a little bit in these playoff series, whether it was the series against the Atlanta Hawks or this series with Miami. It doesn't matter which series you look at. Even the 76ers series, Boston kind of struggled out of the gate in a lot of these games, but you can tell that Boston in this game is ready to go, and they're playing at a high level. Marcus Smart, he's the leading scorer with 9 points. He's hit 3 triples, and again, with Marcus Smart struggles in these playoff games, in this Eastern Conference Finals, it is dramatically hurt Boston's chances of being able to try to win this series because Marcus Smart is such an important player on the team. Not only his defense and how engaged he is on that side of the ball. But when Marcus Smart's doing really good on the offensive end, that makes his defense better because then he starts to play even harder than he already does. And also when he's hitting threes, and that gets Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum some better looks because then you have to respect Marcus Smart. You saw Miami actually daring Marcus Smart to shoot some threes earlier on in this playoff series, and he was missing and missing and missing. Now he is starting to knock down these threes in the last couple games. He started in the second half of game 4, and it's starting to carry over into this game with 3 threes already. That is going to drastically help the Boston Celtics because of the fact you can't guard all 3 of Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, and Marcus Smart. And then when Al Horford starts to make threes, Derek White, Malcolm Brogdon, it goes on. And you could tell Boston found something in game 4, whether it was Miami running out of gas, maybe they were getting fatigued, I don't know, but Boston started to play better in game 4 in the second half at Miami, and it's carrying over so far in this first quarter. Definitely there is a lot of time to go. Miami is in no way, shape, or form out of this game. But if you are a Boston Celtics fan, you've got to feel good about the way Boston has started this game. And it looks like there's a really good chance that the Boston Celtics can continue to keep this series alive if they continue to play at as high of a level as they are right now and carry it for the rest of the game. RC covers the WNBA and NBA. Really appreciate you for stopping by. This is Only Talk Sports. Hello, what's up? Enjoy the game. I'll comment when I can. I'm glad we still got basketball laughing out loud for sure. And a lot of people did not think we would. I didn't even know if we would. The way Boston, don't want to say they gave up, but in that game 3, they didn't play Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown in that fourth quarter. Boston was down 3-0. No one's ever come back from down 3-0. And a lot of times teams just go in and get eliminated in game 4. They've got no shot, they don't think, so they just don't play that hard, and Miami would have swept the series. So a lot of people did think that Boston was done and we would have no basketball until June 1st, but that's not what we've gotten, because the Boston Celtics, they came to life in game 4 of this series, and now in game 5, they're at home. They're back in friendly confines. Even though they have lost the first 2 games of this series at home, doesn't mean they can't win this game, and Miami might be starting to get fatigued because Miami is down 3 of their really important players in Victor Oladipo, Tyler Hero, and Gabe Vincent. Will it be too much to overcome in this game? Who knows? But right now, Boston up 15-5. Where are the points going to come from for the Heat? Caleb Martin, he's into the game. He's been huge for the Miami Heat, but how much can he provide in this game? Jimmy Butler down the floor. Tries to get to Bam Adebayo. He does. Bam turns shoulder off the mark. Great defense by Marcus Smart. Now Al Horford up the floor for Boston. 6:30 to go in the first quarter. Jaylen Brown driving in the lane. Kicks to Jason Tatum in the corner. Good recovery by Tatum because the ball almost went sailing out of bounds. Somehow he caught it. Now Jaylen Brown fakes a wide open 3, and now he backs it back out. Good defense by Butler. Tatum with a one-handed pass to Al Horford, to Derek White, over to Marcus Smart again, and Marcus Smart misses the 3. It looked like he was going to have that one. Horford with the offensive rebound. Al Horford back to Smart, to Jason Tatum for 3, and Jason Tatum knocks down the 3. 18-5. Jason Tatum's getting into the act and knocking down the 3s just like Marcus Smart. The Celtics are rolling. They're up by 13. Jimmy Butler for 2. His shot's way off the mark. Bam Adebayo tries to save it from going out of bounds, and he cannot. He steps on the out-of-bounds line. Unbelievable. Al Horford missed the putback, but he got his own miss. Kicked to Marcus Smart, who has been hot, but missed a 3 on that possession. And Jason Tatum knocks down the 3. He was left wide open. And again, when you're getting offensive rebounds and you give yourself more chances to make shots, you're eventually going to knock them down. The Miami Heat have been doing that earlier in this series. The Miami Heat have been the team that's been getting the offensive rebounds. They're the ones that have been crashing the glass. In game 3 specifically, Boston was not doing a good job on the glass. Miami was dominating them on both sides of the ball, on the offensive end and the defensive end on the glass. But Boston is starting to shape up. Last 2 games, they've been doing a much better job of rebounding. Derek White driving into the lane, trying to go over Max Strus. He does. 20-5, and the lead keeps growing. Will Miami be out of the game before it even begins? We'll have to see. Kyle Lowry with the basketball over to Bam Adebayo. 5:10 to go in the first quarter. Bam off the dribble all the way to the lane, and he scores on a layup. That's a good play by Bam. Settle it down. 22-7, 13-point lead for Boston. Jaylen Brown on the block with a turnaround. Kicks to Derek White for 3, and the 3s keep coming. 23-7. The Celtics are raining 3s right now on the Miami Heat. 16-point lead. This is the best Boston has looked in a long time these last couple games. Boston have been strong, even in the series against the 76ers and the Atlanta Hawks. Just never seemed like Boston got all the way into gear. But now they're playing so much better. Max Strus does respond on the other end with a 3 by the Miami Heat. So it's 23-10, 13-point game. Miami's trying to hang in there, not get blown out before the game even starts. Jaylen Brown with a missed mid-range 2. He's looking for a foul, not going to get it. Kyle Lowry down the floor, trying to drive on Jaylen Brown. Now to Caleb Martin, back to Lowry. Lowry again in place of Gabe Vincent, who's out in this game with a hurt foot. Jimmy Butler in the lane, trying to go up over Tatum with great defense, and they call a foul. Tatum is furious. He thought he went straight up, but it looked like he got just enough of the arm of Jimmy Buckets, and Jimmy Buckets will have a couple of free throws. That's big for Miami. Try to get to the foul line. Try to settle this game down, because you do not want to get blown out of this game in the first quarter. You don't want to already be out. That's basically what you saw with the Memphis Grizzlies versus the Lakers in that one game where Memphis lost by 40 or Memphis was down by 40 points, and then they just never came back, and they lost by like 35 points. That was a game they got blown out early. With Miami, you've got to be able to stay in this game. You just cannot fall behind by too much, because if you do, you're going to give yourself absolutely no chance to win this game whatsoever. 4:07 to go in the first quarter, and Jimmy Butler, he missed the first free throw. Got to make your free throws when you're down, but his second free throw, it does rattle in. So it's 23-11. Grant Williams and Robert Williams are now into the game for the Boston Celtics, having some substitutions going on. Cody Zeller, he's into the game for the Miami Heat. So some substitutions early in this game, both teams trying to keep their players fresh. Tatum all the way to the rim. Tatum for 2 and 1. 25-11, 3:54 to go in the first quarter. If Boston keeps up this intensity for the rest of the game, there is no way that the Miami Heat are going to win this game. Still plenty of time, and Boston could lose focus, which could give the Miami Heat a chance still to come back in this game. But right now, Boston, again, is clicking on all cylinders. They are on a roll. They're hitting threes. They're getting to the rim, and they're also hitting their free throws. They're hitting every shot that they could possibly make, because Jason Tatum, he knocks down this free throw here. So it's 26-11. 3:54 to go in the first quarter. Malcolm Brogdon, the sixth man of the year, he's into the game as well for Boston. Just shows you the depth that Boston has, and it finally seems to start to be showing out for the Celtics. Their depth is starting to play really well. Duncan Robinson, he's now into the game for the Heat. So almost all the rotational players that we are going to see are in this game, unless Miami goes another player or two deep, because Gabe Vincent is out. Caleb Martin tries to spin by Derek White, and he does spin by Derek White. 26-13, good shot by Caleb Martin. 3:20 to go in the first quarter. Jason Tatum at the top of the key, being guarded by Jimmy Butler. Robert Williams sets the screen. Tatum all the way to the rim, and he dunks it home. 28-13. 3:18 to go in the first quarter. What a play by Jason Tatum. Jason Tatum's in the zone. And when Jason Tatum is in the zone, there's nothing you can do. What a play. There was no defense there. Jason Tatum all the way to the rim, and he slammed it home unimpeded. There was no defense, no switching by the Miami Heat, and Eric Spoelstra calls another timeout. 28-13. This is incredible. One of the best starts you could possibly have in a big game like this for the Boston Celtics. They are rolling. Trent Verano is here. Thanks for being here. Trent Verano says, how we doing, folks? I'm doing really well. Hope you're doing good. Also, we've got a great game. Hopefully, it's a closer game than what it's going to perceive to be. Hopefully, it will be a really close game. I'm sure a lot of people do want Boston to win to keep the series alive, but Miami Heat fans, they do not want to see Boston keep winning, because every win that Boston gets, it's going to put more pressure on the Miami Heat to not blow this series, because then that talk's going to happen. What if Boston is the first team to come back from 3 down and Miami loses? That would be devastating for the Heat. Obviously, way too early for that. Miami still has another game at their place to get the job done. But this game's not looking too good for the Heat. Still a lot of time to go, but what a start by the Celtics. Traveling Fools, thanks for being here. Traveling Fools says, yo, thanks for showing up. How are you doing? Hope you're doing well, but I appreciate you for stopping by. Trim Ross says, I just hope the Celtics stay in the whole game. Yeah, I mean, it's a great point, because Boston's one of those teams that sometimes they can lose focus. That's why this game is far from over. They are a team that they're kind of interesting, because at times they look unbeatable, they look unstoppable, and then they just go cold. So if you're a Boston Celtics fan, you're up by 15, you're feeling really good with the way Jason Tatum looks locked in right now, on fire. Marcus Smart's draining threes from the corner. But also, the Boston Celtics are a team that sometimes they just completely fall apart, and they stop playing with the intensity that they're playing with. You even saw it in Game 4. Boston had like a 15-point lead late on Miami, and then they kind of were floating around a little bit, which they eventually put the game away. But still, at times, Boston is very interesting in the fact that they just don't all the way just take out a team. You have the lead. You got to just finish in the deal, win the game, and move on to the next one. Sometimes Boston just kind of laxes up a little bit, eases off the gas. As long as Boston does not ease off the gas, they're going to win this game, because you can tell right now they're playing really well. Eric Spoelstra's had to call 2 timeouts. It's not working because of the fact Boston just continues to score. Nothing is working at all for Eric Spoelstra. The Miami Heat are struggling, but we'll have to see if Boston keeps their focus, because if they do, then they'll be in great shape. But if they do ease off the gas, that could give Miami a chance, even though they're shorthanded. But they still have enough firepower left. Jimmy Buckets is a great basketball player. Bam Adebayo, he's had his moments in these playoffs for the Heat. He can really score points. He can get in the 20s. Then Caleb Martin's had some great games. Duncan Robinson, Max Strus. Those three guys, with Gabe Vincent out, those three guys are going to have to step up. But one thing we have not seen is Max Strus, Duncan Robinson playing at as high of a level they were earlier in the series. Last couple of games, they don't seem to have that same intensity. Caleb Martin's been playing pretty well, but Caleb Martin alone is not going to be enough to help Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo. And still, Kyle Lowry, he's a good player. He's a veteran, but Kyle Lowry's actually doing a really good job off the bench for the Heat, because Gabe Vincent, he's a younger player. He can play longer than Kyle Lowry. Can kind of come in the game, spell Gabe Vincent, provide veteran experience with some of the younger guys that are on the floor with him at the same time. Now Kyle Lowry's going to have to play a lot more in this game because Gabe Vincent is out. That's going to be interesting to see how they handle that. Right now, Miami doesn't even have a point guard on the floor. But Caleb Martin, he does hit a three in the corner to cut it to 12. 28-16, 3 to go in the first quarter. Cody Zeller in the game right now with Bam Adebayo on the bench. Cody Zeller's had some nice moments, but he's also not a guy that can really fill it up. He's not going to give you 15 points, but he can play some pretty good defense, and he can score a little bit down low. Jason Tatum with the ball, Boston up by 12. 2:40 to go in the first quarter. 2 seconds on the shot clock, turnaround three. Tatum's off the mark, but Grant Williams with the offensive rebound. And again, Boston is doing a much better job in the last couple of games of rebounding the basketball, something that they struggled with mightily earlier on when they were down 3-0 in this series. Rebounding is sometimes an overlooked stat, but rebounding is so important, specifically offensive rebounds, because when you're missing shots, the more chances that you get on the offensive end to be able to score again, the better chance you're eventually going to make one of those shots and be able to keep extending the lead that you have or whatever you're trying to do in a game, whether you're down or up. Offensive rebounds are key. Defensive rebounds, you got to keep the other team off the glass, but offensive rebounds are key as well. Boston seems to be doing a great job on the offensive defensive glass in this game, playing at a high level, preventing Miami from being able to get more opportunities to score than Boston. Boston has a lot more field goal attempts than Miami to start this game. Derek White with the basketball over to Jason Tatum to Grant Williams. He fakes the three off the dribble, and Grant Williams falls to the deck. He had no chance on that shot, but I don't know if there's a foul. 2:29 to go in the first quarter. I'm not sure if they called a foul or not, but if they did, that is a bailout foul because of the fact that the Miami Heat, they defended Grant Williams very well on that drive, but they just did not keep their hands up. It looks like they did foul late on that drive, and Grant Williams is at the line, and he does hit the first free throw. So 2:29 to go in the first. Grant Williams with 14 points, 6 rebounds, and 2 assists. So Grant Williams, he hits 1 of 2, 29-16. 13-point game right now for the Miami Heat, trying to hang around. Seems like the Miami Heat are doing a pretty good job of not letting the games lead by the Boston Celtics affect them. They're still playing their game, still just trying to settle in, treating it like it's only the first quarter, still tons of time. Great pass by Jimmy Butler, down low to Cody Zeller. Cody Zeller with the slam dunk, 29-18. 2:05 to go in the first quarter, 11-point game. So as well as Boston's play, Miami hanging around. But as I say that, Derek White drains a three, 32-18, 14-point lead for the Boston Celtics. Duncan Robinson with the basketball, the undrafted player out of the Michigan Wolverines. He has been a solid player for the Miami Heat the last few years. He got a big contract extension, but then he lost his minutes. But he has been playing well the last few games. Cody Zeller tried to get an offensive rebound off a miss for Miami, but he could not end up with the ball. Malcolm Brogdon misses a three for Boston. Cody Zeller taps the ball to Jimmy Butler. 1:30 to go in the first quarter. Duncan Robinson off the dribble to Cody Zeller. Zeller for 2. 32-20. Cody Zeller having an impact off the bench. He's got 4 points. Very unselfish basketball by his teammates to get him those open looks as well, turning a good shot to a great shot. 1:10 to go in the first quarter. Jason Tatum with the ball. Over to Robert Williams. In the corner to Grant Williams, and Grant Williams misses the three, but I think there might be a foul down low. Could have been Robert Williams being held on the block down low. Miami trying to prevent him from getting an open look. But the Miami Heat, again, as bad as they've played early, still only down by 12. They're hanging around. It looks like there might have been a technical foul. So Jason Tatum's at the line for a technical foul free throw, and he misses it. It is sometimes so difficult to shoot those technical foul free throws because you're on the line by yourself. It's much easier to do it when there's players on the side because that's what you're used to doing. So Tatum, he misses that free throw. So 1 minute to go in the first quarter. Been a great first quarter for Boston. Miami trying to hang in there. Derek White driving into the lane with a step back two. His shot's off the mark. Caleb Martin rips down that board. Down the floor for Miami, trying to cut this to 10 or potentially single digits with a three. Jimmy Butler with the basketball. Top of the key being guarded by Jason Tatum. Jimmy Butler with a crossover, with a spin move to the rim, and his shot's barely off the mark. Robert Williams gets that rebound away from Cody Zeller. Now Derek White down the floor. Over to Jason Tatum, wide open for three. Jason Tatum's three's off the mark. He had a great look. That's one of the only shots he's missed in this first quarter. 25 seconds left to go. Jimmy Buckets trying to get an open man to pass it to. No one's open. Finally get to the Zeller. Jimmy Butler's blocked by Robert Williams for three, and Robert Williams tried to go down the floor with it, but the ball is out of bounds off him, and that right there is vintage Robert Williams. Robert Williams, a player that is one of the best defenders in the NBA, despite being an undersized center, only 6'10", but he's got the length and the versatility to be able to make great plays like that block and almost going down the floor to be able to score. A missed three by Miami. Can Miami only be down by 12 to kind of salvage this first quarter? Will Boston score before the end of the first? Jason Tatum, top of the key, over to Derek White. 1 second left. Derek White, 4-3. 35-20. Boston's up by 15, and that is the end of your first quarter. What a shot by Derek White. Crossover dribble, knocked his defender away and Max Strus, and with 0.8 seconds on the shot clock, Derek White drills that three. That is a fantastic shot by Derek White to end a fairly rough first quarter for the Miami Heat. They are down by 15 points right now. Jeff says, what's up to Trem Verano? Really appreciate you guys for being here. Same old likewise. Right now, it is the same old in this game. We're having a fairly blown out first quarter. And usually it's been Miami blowing out Boston. But right now, it's Boston blowing out Miami. Boston trying to get back in this series. Trem Verano says, Celtics coming back down 3 games. I just don't see it. Thinking a better series with Nuggets and Celtics, though. 100% agree with your point, Trem Verano. I think you've nailed it on the head. You look at the fact that if Boston comes back in the series, it would be almost the unthinkable, something that no team has ever done. I don't think it's completely impossible because you look at other sports, Major League Baseball, National Hockey League, teams have come back from 3-0. It's never been done in the NBA. Doesn't mean it can't happen. So I wouldn't say it's completely impossible, especially with Miami's injuries. I think that could potentially help Boston maybe do this a little bit easier. Still not saying it would be easy, but maybe it could be a little bit easier. But looking like what you said, I still think that Boston would be a better matchup for Denver. Can't say that Miami wouldn't have a chance against the Denver Nuggets, especially if Tyler Hero does return from his injury. But the fact that Boston is potentially the deepest team in the NBA or the Denver Nuggets being the deepest team in the NBA, you could really go either way with both those teams. That would probably be the better matchup. So we'll have to see if Boston can come back. But I do think they're the better team than Miami. But Miami's been playing well. They're up 3-1 and deservedly so. But they're going to have to find a way to win one more game. Boston definitely not giving up. Trem Verano says if Miami does go, they should have Hero back. For sure, that will help. That definitely will help. And I think that Tyler Hero, if Miami does get to the finals, that would definitely help their chances to hang with Denver. But you don't know how the chemistry would work either because Hero's been out for a while. This rotation for Miami's been playing together for a while. Would his return mess up the chemistry that they currently have with the team? Have no idea. It could. It might not. I have no idea. But I do think that Miami would still need Tyler Hero to have a shot against Denver because of the fact he's a player that's used to three ball at high levels. Defense isn't always there, but you still need him to be able to hang with Denver and the amount of points that they put up. Because right now, you can tell that since Boston's back, the way they're playing at this very moment in time, they're playing great basketball. Miami just does not have the offense to hang with them as of this time. Trem Verano says, didn't know Vincent was out. Yeah, that is tough. I mean, he hurt his ankle in the last game, and a lot of people thought that he would be able to play because he only rolled his ankle, but still, it's one of those injuries that it swells up after you're done playing. The adrenaline wears off. It starts to hurt worse than it does when you're still playing, and Gabe Vincent, they're probably wanting to keep him out because Eric Spoelstra probably believes in his mind that the Miami Heat don't have a great chance in this game. the way Boston played in game 4, you can tell they want to have a chance to win, this series still. So they're going to have a great chance to win this game because they got their home crowd. Boston's clicking on all cylinders. Miami can still win this game for all we know, but Boston being up by 15 shows you the way that they're playing. And Eric Spoelstra probably wants to have Gabe Vincent back for game 6. So Gabe Vincent will probably be back for game 6, and hopefully for the Miami Heat that Gabe Vincent will be able to play in game 6 at home for Miami, because that will probably be their best chance to potentially still win this series if they do lose tonight's game. Sorgy Story says, hey, Jeffrey in chat, really appreciate you for stopping by. Sorgy Stories, hope you're doing well. Really appreciate Sorgy Stories. Also says, what's up to Travel Fools? Really appreciate all you guys for stopping by. Second quarter action is beginning. Marcus Smart with the basketball at the top of the key. 15-point game. He swings it over to Grant Williams. Boston was nailing their threes in that first quarter. If they can continue that, they'll have a great chance to win. And it's continuing to start the second quarter because Jaylen Brown, that arm is looking fine as he knocks down that three. 38-20, 18-point lead for the Boston Celtics. In Miami, they cut it to 12, and now it's back to 18 just like that. Duncan Robinson misses a 2 on the other end. Al Horford with the board. Jaylen Brown down the floor. Jaylen Brown is double team, kicks to Grant Williams. Now over to Marcus Smart with the behind the back to Al Horford. Now over to Brogdon. He tries to drive. Now over to Grant Williams. Exquisite passing and a missed 3 by Grant Williams. So all that passing led to no points, but still that was beautiful basketball around the world. Duncan Robinson on the other end to Bam Adebayo to Kyle Lowry. Again, he was having to play a lot more minutes with Gabe Vincent out. Hayden Highsmith is into the game now for Miami as well. A guy that doesn't play too much, but you kind of feel like he would have to play with Miami being short so many players. Duncan Robinson cans the 3. So 38-23, 15-point game. Really good shot by Duncan Robinson. That's what he is in the game to do, is to score buckets. Brogdon on the other end misses another 3. So potentially Boston starting to cool off a little bit. Bam Adebayo down the floor. Crossover dribble to avoid Malcolm Brogdon potentially stealing that basketball. Bam Adebayo over to Duncan Robinson. Robinson being guarded by Marcus Smart to Bam Adebayo. Caleb Martin being guarded by Grant Williams. That's probably a quickness advantage to Caleb Martin, and it works because Caleb Martin blows by Grant Williams, and he lays it in off the glass. 38-25. 10 to go in the second quarter, and Boston is 22-0 in playoffs when leading by 15-plus points entering the second quarter in franchise history. So that bodes well for their potential victory here because they are undefeated in this circumstance. Jaylen Brown all the way to the rim. His shot is good. 40-25. Look at the hang time by Jaylen Brown. That shows you the amount of athleticism that he has. He is a fantastic player. Kyle Lowry with a turnaround too, and Kyle Lowry showing he still got it despite his age. 40-27. That's a sweet shot by Lowry. 9:30 to go in the second quarter. Jaylen Brown top of the key over to Al Horford. Al Horford, a three-point maestro after learning how to shoot threes more in the NBA after around 8 seasons in the league. Malcolm Brogdon back to Al Horford for 3, and Al Horford's 3 is off the mark that time. Back out to Jaylen Brown, who definitely has been hitting threes early in this game. He pulls from 3 and hits another one. Jaylen Brown is feeling it early in this game. 43-27, and Eric Spoelstra has a look of concern in his face because he knows the Boston Celtics are gaining momentum and their fans are getting loud, and Boston is in great shape in this game. Marcus Smart with the steal all the way to the rim, and Marcus Smart misses, but Al Horford with the putback jam. 45-27. 18-point lead for Boston. What a play by Al Horford. Duncan Robinson on the other end. And Duncan Robinson about the only thing currently keeping Miami within any striking distance of being in this game. He hits another 3 there. So it's 45-30. Still a 15-point lead for Boston. But Jaylen Brown, you can definitely tell the spark is back in his eyes. He falls to the floor, however, trying to get away from Bam Adebayo, and a steal. Good defense by the Heat. Kyle Lowry down the floor all the way to the rim, and a block by Grant Williams. What a block. Kyle Lowry tried to go up over Grant Williams, and that's not going to work. Grant Williams has a big height advantage on him, and he blocks that ball right there. Marcus Smart, though, that was a fantastic attempt, but Al Horford with the follow-through and jam, and then Lowry on the other end. What a block by Grant Williams. Right when Lowry went up with it, Grant Williams said, get that shot out of here. 8:12 to go in the second quarter in this high-flying first half. Both teams are running the floor. There's been some great action. Marcus Smart is going to the bench to get a breather. Looks like maybe he's slightly limping. I think he should be okay. However, Caleb Martin misses a three air ball. He couldn't even hit the rim. Derek White to Jason Tatum to Al Horford, and Al Horford knocks down, I think, the long two. His foot might have been on the line, but it does not matter. Great shot anyway by Al Horford. 17-point lead for Boston. Can Miami cut this lead at all? Because if they keep trading buckets with Boston, that's not going to help. They need stops, and they need some scores. Bam Adebayo with Al Horford guarding him. With a mid-range two, Bam's shot is off the mark. Al Horford with the rebound. Derek White over to Jason Tatum. 7:30 to go in the second quarter. Tatum being guarded by Bam Adebayo. Tatum can get all the way to the rim with Adebayo on him, even though Adebayo is a fairly solid defender. But Tatum, he is a quick player, but a bad decision by Tatum. He throws it right to Hayden Highsmith, and Hayden Highsmith all the way to the rim with a layup. 47-32. That's a good play by Highsmith. Recognizing the situation, have your arms up in the air, try to defend Jason Tatum's passes. Tatum's a good passer, but he made a mistake on that play. And there is a timeout on the floor. 7:22 to go in the second quarter, and Boston leads 47-32 over Miami. Sorgy Story says American Airlines Center's Rockets the Dallas Stars have tied up against the Vegas Golden Knights and must win for Dallas. That's pretty cool. There always some crazy sports news going on besides what we're currently watching. Trent Verano says dagger three. Incredible the way Boston has started this game. There have been dagger after dagger threes by the Boston Celtics, and they keep on shooting the three ball at as high of a level as they are right now. Again, they're in great shape for the rest of this series. They can keep continuing to do what they're doing. Yes, if you look at Miami, they're the team that was shooting the basketball at a ridiculously high level earlier in the series, but now it's Boston. And in the NBA, when one team's shooting well from three and you're not, your chances of winning are very slim, because of the fact threes count more than twos, and Boston's on a roll right now from three. The Gold says, hello, they're playing with Emi Udoka's intensity. Somebody's got their attention since game 4. Brogdon injured tendon. I'm not 100% sure on Brogdon. Hopefully he's okay, but I appreciate you for stopping by, the Gold. And like you said, the old intensity for the Boston Celtics is back. They're looking like the team that they were in the regular season. They're looking like the team that we saw last year with the Boston Celtics. They look like the team that we are used to seeing that won 57 games this year. They are a great team. They've got depth, but it was nowhere to be found earlier on in the series when they were down 3-0. And a lot of people were questioning Joe Mazzulla. A lot of people were questioning Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, even Marcus Smart. A lot of the players on the team, were they focused? Were they bought into the series? Did they want to win? I'm sure they do, because they're playing really hard now, but it still is interesting why Boston was down 3-0. Yes, Miami played so well, and they were hitting all these threes, and you can't keep that up forever, which it seems like Miami is starting to go cold outside of Duncan Robinson in this game specifically. But still, looking at the Boston Celtics, being down 3-0, losing those first two home games was definitely out of the blue. No one was expecting that at all. I know I wasn't. I thought that maybe Miami could steal one at Boston, but two, I had no idea that would happen. Miami's done a great job, but Miami's not out of the woods, because Boston, they look like a team on a mission. And again, they look like they believe that they still have a shot to win this series. And when you have belief is a dangerous thing for the other team if your opponent believes that they can win. Jackson says, don't want to count the chickens before they are hatched, but it looks like the Celtics are having some magic from the Red Sox 2004 comeback from 3 games down. Completely agree. Everybody remember, the one time in Major League Baseball teams come back from 3 down was the Boston Red Sox over the Yankees in 2004. But the Boston Celtics, this could be the first time ever. It's still plenty of time left. Still 2 games after this one. Boston still has to win this one, then they have to win 2 more games. So nowhere near that point yet. But yes, Boston has the look of a team that can get this done. And if they do, they'll be in the record books forever. Sorgy Story says Heat in 6 if they don't come back. Yeah, I still feel like Miami has a good chance to win at home, because they've been great on their own floor. But Boston was able to win game 4. And if Gabe Vincent's injury is worse than we think, and he's maybe not able to play in game 6, or even if he does and he's kind of limited, not playing as high of a level as he was before the injury, there's some scary stuff for the Miami Heat. Boston will be in great shape if that's the case, but I do agree with you. Miami still has a chance to win in 6, but Boston definitely looking like there's a chance. 7:22 to go in the second quarter. Boston to inbound the ball. Al Horford over to Derek White. Derek White, a great addition for the Boston Celtics, getting him over from the San Antonio Spurs. He has been a really solid player. He's been improving shooting the basketball as well. Jason Tatum, top of the key. Over to Derek White for three, and Derek White's three's off the mark. So a big miss there for Boston to give Miami a chance to potentially cut into this lead. Bam Adebayo with the ball, top of the key, not where he belongs. He has to be able to give the ball to someone else. Duncan Robinson, tries to get a screen from Bam Adebayo. Not a good enough screen because Robinson's stuck at the top of the key. Over to Caleb Martin. He shoots a three in desperation. His shot's off the mark. Bad possession for the Heat. They never got anything going on that play. Boston played great defense. Jaylen Brown down the floor. Over to Derek White inside to Grant Williams. And a turnover for Jimmy Butler, like he took it from Grant Williams, and then Grant Williams gets the ball back, and they both fall to the floor. Both Grant Williams, Jimmy Butler obviously were in that altercation a couple games ago where they were head-to-head, literally head-to-head, but it looks like no hard feelings there. They get up, but that was a lot of contact between both players, Grant Williams and Jimmy Butler, falling hard. But Miami does end up with the basketball. 6:20 to go in the second quarter. Jimmy Butler definitely has to start making some buckets for Miami. Duncan Robinson driving into the lane. Duncan Robinson, he's been a bright spot. It looks like Duncan Robinson has shown up to play. He's been hitting some big shots in this first half for the Heat. But definitely Duncan Robinson going to need some help from some of his teammates, because currently Miami's still down by 13. But still the Heat kind of hanging around, not getting completely blown out. That's good news for the Heat. Jaylen Brown misses a three in the corner. Jimmy Butler with a rebound. 5:50 to go in the second quarter. Buckets down the floor. Jimmy Butler gets a Bam Adebayo screen. Caleb Martin over to Jimmy Butler, top of the key with Al Horford on him. And Grant Williams and Bam were getting tangled up, but no foul call. A lot of contact the refs were letting them have around the rim. Very smart, probably, just because this is an Eastern Conference Finals game, potential elimination game. You got to let them play. Just don't want nothing to get out of hand. However, Miami scores a two. Duncan Robinson again. 47-36, 11-point game. This is the closest Miami's had it in a long time. Tatum to Derek White. Over to Grant Williams in the corner. Grant Williams, his shot was oh so close to going in, but it just did not fall. Miami with the ball again. Could get it to single digits here. Jimmy Butler pulls from three. His shot is short, and there's a rebound. That's the team we saw with Miami getting offensive rebounds earlier in this series. Caleb Martin with that offensive rebound, and Bam missed a chippy. Bam Adebayo would love to have that one back. He missed a chippy. Had a very good look inside, just couldn't get it to fall. Al Horford in the corner misses a three, but Jaylen Brown with the weak side offensive rebound put back. 49-36, 13-point lead for the Celtics. Jaylen Brown with 13 points, 3 of 5 from three. 4:30 to go in the second quarter. Caleb Martin with the basketball. Grant Williams on him, trying to drive all the way to the rim, and there's a foul inside. Oh no, Caleb Martin is down. Hopefully he's okay. But that is the last thing that Miami needs. They cannot afford any more injuries. Hero is out. Gabe Vincent is out. Victor Oladipo is out. And right now, Caleb Martin is on the ground clutching his leg. Hopefully, he will be able to get up, but he is in some pain. What happened to him? Like maybe he banged knee. Ooh, that's not too good right there. Like maybe he twisted his knee a little bit, banged knees, and then it kind of twisted on him when he was trying to go through the double team of Grant Williams and Al Horford. But hopefully Caleb Martin is okay. But definitely basketball, you can definitely hurt your legs very easily driving into the lane. But Caleb Martin, he's at the line. He's trying to be a warrior and stay in there, but the Heat desperately need him on the floor. They just do not have a lot more players that they can bring in. Caleb Martin's first free throw is good. So it's 49-37. 4:31 to go in the second quarter. You know Eric Spoelstra is breathing a big sigh of relief that Caleb Martin is staying into the game, because he knows that his team is desperately thin and they need all the players that they possibly have left to remain in the game. Caleb Martin, 18.5 points per game off the bench this series, fourth most in conference finals in the last 40 seasons. That is insane. Caleb Martin has been huge for the Heat off the bench to be able to provide the amount of points that they have needed to gain this 3-1 lead on the Celtics. They definitely need him in the game. Jason Tatum to Jaylen Brown inbound the ball, and Miami's cut it to 11 again. If Miami can get it to around 7 at the half, that would go a long way in potentially helping them have a chance to win this game. They just cannot fall behind by too much. And so far, they've done a pretty solid job of hanging around, never letting this game completely get out of hand. They've been close several times. but never let it get completely out of hand. But on the other end, however, Marcus Smart with a smart play, drawing a foul on Duncan Robinson. That's his third personal foul. That's the other problem for Miami. Besides players getting hurt is the depth. They do not have a lot of depth. And when you've got guys potentially getting in foul trouble, Eric Spoelstra either has to make a decision to continue to play the guy that's in foul trouble or go even further down your bench. And the further you go down your bench, a guy that is in the game might not really be prepared for the moment, or Boston definitely would try to take advantage of that guy who's in the game. Max Strus is returning, so definitely Miami is still okay in that regard. But Duncan Robinson probably needs to try to find a way to not pick up many more fouls in this game, try to stay in the game. 51-38, Marcus Smart hits both free throws there, 4:10 to go in the second quarter. Caleb Martin over to Bam Adebayo, top of the key to Max Strus, off the Bam screen, back to Bam for a mid-range two, and Bam's just a little off in this game. He's had some great looks, just can't get them to fall. 4 to go in the second. Tatum with Jimmy buckets on him. Tatum almost loses the ball off his foot, but it looks like they're going to say it was tapped off, but it might have been off Tatum. But they're going to give Boston the benefit of the doubt. Tatum still with the ball. Over in the corner to Jaylen Brown. Driving in with a nice spin move, turnaround shot. Brown misses the shot, but Robert Williams fight for it, and Derek White ends up with it. And Derek White with the alley-oop to Robert Williams. It looked like Derek White was going to go up with a floater, but he gets that basketball to Robert Williams, and he jams it home. 53-38, and just like that, Boston's back up by 15. Miami needs points. Max Strus, top of the key. Bam Adebayo setting the screen, gets it back to Bam, and Bam misses another 1-foot shot. Now Hayden Highsmith misses, and Marcus Smart ends up with the rebound. Tatum down the floor. 3:05 to go in the second quarter. Robert Williams to Marcus Smart. Smart to Williams, and a steal by Bam. Over to Butler, down the floor, and Butler with the dunk. And a bad foul by Boston. Did not need that foul. 2:59 to go in the second quarter, and definitely a mistake by the Boston Celtics. Jimmy Butler already had that dunk. You cannot foul on that play. You've got to let him go. You've got to let him get all the way to the rim, get that dunk to go. I get you're just trying to find a way to be able to not give up a point there, but that was a mistake by the Boston Celtics. Jimmy Butler will have a free throw to boot to potentially put Miami just down by 12 again. The Gold says, hey, Sorgi, how's it going? I'm watching Dallas Vegas score 2. Can't have him get to the finals. That's crazy there, but definitely some interesting action. Hockey going on. So many other sports are going on as of this time. But the Boston Celtics and the Miami Heat, a really good game, a really good series. It did not look like it was going to be a good series because of the fact Boston was down 3-0. A lot of people already count Boston out. But the Celtics, they're making it interesting. They're not giving up yet. Sorgy Story says to Jackson, great, just sitting here watching some hockey and YouTube. Again, really appreciate you for being here. Sorgy Stories, definitely really appreciate when you're in the chat with keeping updates on the hockey. I really appreciate it as well. Definitely, keeps everyone in the loop. Sorgy says, how is Jackson doing? Jackson says doing pretty good, watching a little bit of the Heat and the Brace. A lot of stuff going on. Really appreciate all you guys for being here. Trent Verano says, looks like the Celtics showed up. I would definitely have to agree. Boston, they know their circumstance. They could have folded. Boston could have said, you know what, we're down 3-0. Maybe we can get them next year. But Boston, they did not want to quit. And they might not even ultimately win this series. And that's the thing for Boston Celtics fans. Even if Boston wins this game, it's not like they're going to win the series. We have no idea what's going to happen. But at least with this game, and with the game 4 where Boston was able to win, at least it shows you that the Boston Celtics have not quit. And even if they do not win this series, whether they lose in game 6, whether they even lose tonight, which even though as well as Boston's playing, there's still a chance they could lose. Miami could come back. You never know. But at least it shows you Boston didn't quit. Because I know that would have been heartbreaking for Boston fans. As good of a team as they have to get swept by Miami, that would have been a horrific look. Who knows if Joe Mazzulla would have made it through that, whether they would have fired him, or basically moved on from him, whatever you want to call it, and have a new coach get hired. I don't know. Maybe they'd have kept Joe Mazzulla. He was put in a tough spot. Hired way late in the process after Emi Udoka, was let go, and then everything that had to do with that. And then you get Joe Mazzulla, 34 years of age, youngest coach in the NBA. Didn't get the whole offseason to really prepare for this year. But Joe Mazzulla, he's in a really good situation with this team that he has, because Boston's got a great team up and down the roster. They've got experience. They've got, leadership. some veterans on the team. They've got young guys on the team. They've got some great players all over the floor, but the Boston Celtics being down 3-0 in the Eastern Conference Finals was just a bad look, because I don't know what's worse, losing in the first round in a Game 7 or losing in a sweep in the Eastern Conference Finals or in a conference finals. I don't know really what's worse. You probably would rather get all the way to the Eastern Conference Finals, but you just don't want to lose 4-0. You get all the way here and then you get swept by the 8th seed, by a team that's supposed to be worse than you, and a team that's shorthanded. Miami's not even in full strength. It'd be a little bit different if Boston was the team that had injuries, if Boston was the team that was shorthanded, but Miami was the team that was healthy. But that's not the case. Boston is perfectly healthy. Last season, they didn't have Malcolm Brogdon. Last season, Robert Williams missed the playoffs, but yet they made it to the finals. So theoretically, Boston's better this year because of the fact that Robert Williams is 100% and he is playing this time, and they added Malcolm Brogdon. So Boston should be better than they were last year, but Boston's going to get swept by the 8th seed in Miami that's shorthanded. That would have been a horrific look. But Boston could still lose the series, but giving it all they've got. But Jimmy Butler trying to prevent that from happening. He knocks down the and one. So it's 53-41, 2:50 to go in the second quarter, and Marcus Smart's bringing the ball up the floor. Derek White over to Jaylen Brown. Back to Derek White. Boston's been passing the ball much better in the last couple of games than they were earlier in the series, cutting the turnovers down. Jason Tatum, top of the key, kicks to Derek White for 3, and Derek White hits another 3. All of the Boston Celtics players have been on the floor getting into the action on the three-point line. They are shooting the ball so well from 3. They're 10 of 22 from 3. Miami's only 4 of 10. And a steal. Jaylen Brown to the rim, and he lays it in. 58-41. And every time Miami cuts it to 10, 11, or 12 points, Boston gets it back up close to 20. Boston's done a good job of that in Game 4, keeping Miami at bay, and they're doing it again here, keeping Miami at bay. Top of the key, Jimmy Butler trying to drive around Robert Williams. He gets it to Hayden Highsmith in the corner, and Hayden Highsmith cannot give Jimmy Butler an assist because he misses the 3. Now you've got Jaylen Brown going down the floor. 150 to go in the second quarter. Jaylen Brown gets to the rim, over to Jason Tatum for 3, and Tatum's 3's off the mark. Bam with the easy board. 140 to go in the second quarter. Bam going down the floor, trying to drive on Derek White, got a size advantage. And then a steal by Boston. And then when they were going down the floor, Tatum falls to the hardwood. It looked like there is potentially a foul on Miami. So it looks like there was a foul on Miami. Don't know if they're in the bonus. But Jason Tatum right there selling that contest. They were going down the floor. Don't think it's a take foul. Sometimes when you have a take foul, they can call a technical foul for impeding a player's path. It looks like just Jason Tatum maybe kind of ran into somebody. So it looks like there will be some free throws, potentially, if they're in the bonus. Yeah, Adebayo just caught Jason Tatum a little bit right there. Really smart play by Tatum. He sold the contact. So they're not in the bonus yet, so Boston will not have free throws. So Tatum will be inbounding it to Marcus Smart. That's a break for the Heat because they cannot afford to give up any more free points to the Celtics. Jaylen Brown, top of the key, over to Marcus Smart for a triple, and Marcus Smart continues to feel it from outside. 61-41, and just like that, Boston is up by 20 again on a 12-3 run. This is unbelievable. Boston is on fire. Jimmy Butler on the other end cannot respond. Is there a foul? I think that there is on Boston. So that's a break for the Heat. But what a performance by the Boston Celtics. I mean, this is incredible. They just keep scoring every single possession. Going on the other end, they're hitting 2s, they're hitting 3s, and they're preventing Miami from responding every single time. Now, Miami has had some open looks, but it just seems like the Heat are just kind of struggling a little bit. They're not hitting all the shots they were earlier in the series. But the Boston Celtics are locked in and engaged. And Jimmy Butler missing another free throw. Just some uncharacteristic things by Miami. Things we have become accustomed to in this series of making free throws, not turning the ball over, taking good shots, having great possessions. Miami's not doing all those things in this game or in the second half of Game 4. I mean, it is crazy how good Boston is doing. And, I mean, it's almost funny because of the fact, that's why I've laughed a couple of times. It's funny because Boston is this good of a team. Boston is this good of a team, but they have not played like this team. This team is back. Can they do it for 2 more games after they win this game? If they do win this game, who knows if that's possible or not for Boston. But the way they're playing right now, this is the Boston Celtics team that we are used to seeing. Boston almost turns it over, though, and I think that they do. So Jason Tatum does make a mistake there with a turnover, rolling it off of his foot. 53.8 seconds left in the second quarter. We're almost at the half. Miami's down by 19 points. They need a couple buckets to potentially cut down this lead a little bit. They still have a chance. Boston has not won this game yet, but Miami can still come back, but they need points, and they're going to have a much better second half than they did in the first half, and hope Boston gets cold from the outside. Bam, driving in the lane. Tatum guarding Bam Adebayo. Bam trying to drive. Looks like he's trying to go up with a jump hook. Instead goes with a fadeaway off glass, and he gets it to fall. Bam Adebayo, big shot for him to be able to continue to show that he is involved in this game and be able to score, because he's been cold. He's been struggling, not contributing for Miami. He finally gets a bucket to fall first in a long time. 61-44. Tatum top of the key. 15 seconds left. He shoots a three. His shot's off the mark. Caleb Martin with the rebound. Miami with a chance to score again before the half. Caleb Martin over to Jimmy Buckets. 5 seconds left. Butler over to Caleb Martin. 3 seconds left. 2 seconds left. 1 second. Caleb Martin can't even get a shot off because Boston, with great defense on that last possession, just like they've had this entire game, they get a stop, and it's 61-44. Teams with an 18-point lead at any point are 33-0 in this playoffs, and Boston led by 20 points at one point in this ball game. So if that is a sign for anything, then that shows you that the Boston Celtics definitely have the leg up and a great chance to win this game. Because Miami, again, not looking like the team we saw earlier in the series, but who knows? We could have a great second half on our hands if Miami can make it interesting, or if Boston keeps it up, maybe they'll have a fairly comfortable win. But in the NBA, you just never know. Sorgi says, I'm good. Really appreciate you for being here. Jeff says, Boston looks awesome so far. Again, this is the Boston team we're used to seeing. I mean, we haven't seen it in a while, so it looks amazing. But Boston is this good. They had several games in the regular season where they just blew out the teams that they played. I mean, they won 57 games. You have to be a great team to do that. And we know Boston's great because they went to the finals last year. Like I said, without Malcolm Brogdon being on their team yet, and Robert Williams missed the playoffs. They've got Robert Williams healthy. Malcolm Brogdon is on the team now. Boston is probably the deepest team in the NBA. I know Denver, the way they're playing, they're making a strong case for them being the deepest team in the NBA. But if Denver's the deepest team, Boston surely is the second deepest team. But you can make it our Boston's number one, because they've got some great players that don't even play. Peyton Pritchard, Blake Griffin, even though he's older, he can still play. Those guys don't even play at all. And they've got Grant Williams that sometimes doesn't even play. He's been playing more lately because of matchups and, the versatility and toughness that Grant Williams provides. Obviously Joe Mazzulla's liking it in this playoff series. Grant Williams, even though he made a mistake to get into it with Jimmy Butler, but besides that, Grant Williams has definitely been a positive and an impact for Boston, doing a good job on the glass, and he's starting to hit some shots as well. Sorgi's story says, Axel McCrum said, I'm not that good, considering that Robin said if the Brewers don't get a $448 million stadium renovation deal done, the team will move. Yeah, that would be tough. You never want a team to move for sure. Sorgi said the stadium lease up to 2030, new renovation will move back to 2043. Definitely, hopefully the renovations do happen for that team. Jeff says Jason Tatum's a beast. I know that sometimes people knock Jason Tatum because he's not consistent. He's not consistently scoring at a high level. But Jason Tatum is a great player. I mean, Jason Tatum is not a guy that's supposed to have the ball in his hands all the time, which I think makes him a very complicated player. Because you look at some of the best players of all time. It's usually a guard, a guy that has the ball in his hands more often, or it's a center that just dominates down low. Tatum is a wing. Tatum can handle the ball, and he does when he's on fire. Boston allows him to bring the ball to the floor. Boston allows him to score, but he's not the guy that's supposed to have the ball in his hands all the time. It's Marcus Smart, or, even though Marcus Smart's not really a traditional point guard, Boston still makes it work with him, and he's got much better handle on the ball. But still, Jason Tatum, for his size, 6'8". Kevin Durant gets the props for what he can do at his height. But Jason Tatum is basically Kevin Durant, but just 1 inch shorter. Because Jason Tatum's ridiculous. He can shoot anywhere on the floor. And he can get to the rim at will. When Jason Tatum's locked in and playing at a high level, he can get to the rim whenever he wants. Especially when he's switched on to a guy that maybe is not able to keep up with him. or a shorter guy that he can shoot over. Jason Tatum's a fantastic player. Yes, sometimes there are knocks on the fact that he's not consistently able, at times you would say, to play at as high of a level as you would like him to play at. There are times when sometimes he's not at his best. But when Jason Tatum is at his best, he's definitely a top 10 player in the NBA and arguably a top 5 player at this point. I mean, he had 51 points against the 76ers in that game that was elimination. That was a great game. And he's had several 50-point games in the playoffs. You have to be a truly great player to do that. And he's had some off games in this series, but he's coming around. And his teammates got to help him out too. Again, Marcus Smart has not had some good games in this playoff series, but Marcus Smart's getting it back together. And Marcus Smart, you can tell it's up in the ante on his defensive performance because he's feeling it on the offensive end. It's making him play better on defense. And that just spreads to the rest of the team. When you've got Marcus Smart and Robert Williams impacting the game on the defensive end, it helps their offensive games, and then it helps the rest of their team want to play better defense as well. It spreads to the rest of the roster. And for Miami, I just feel like potentially we're at a point where the Miami Heat might be running out of gas. They're out, several players. They definitely are not healthy right now. Tyler Hero, Victor Oladipo, and now you've got Gabe Vincent out. It's remarkable Miami's up 3-1. If Boston had played better and been able to slow down Miami, Boston would not be down 3-1 right now. Jimmy Butler's been fantastic. He led Miami here. He had 56 points against the Bucks. He had 45 points in the elimination game against the Bucks. He was fantastic to get here. But then he got contributions from the undrafted 4 that are infamously being known of how well they played for the Miami Heat in these playoffs. Looking at Duncan Robinson, Gabe Vincent, Max Strus, Caleb Martin. Those 4 guys have averaged 61 points per game in this playoff series in the first 3 games. Last couple games, though, not happening. You don't see Duncan Robinson, even though he's had a pretty good night tonight, but in the last game, he didn't have as good of a game as he was having. Caleb Martin had the one big game where he had 25 points, but he's kind of tapered off a bit. And then you look at Gabe Vincent. He's currently out. Max Strus, he's been kind of quiet last few games. So the undrafted 4 for Miami are either not all the way healthy with Vincent, or the other 3 just aren't doing what they were doing earlier in the series. Bam's having an off game tonight. If the undrafted 4 were playing at a high level, including Gabe Vincent being available in this game, and Bam Adebayo was giving you what he was giving you in some of these other series, Miami would probably be tied in this game right now. But they just don't have the offense to match Boston because they're down so many players, and Jimmy Butler's not putting up 25, and the rest of the team's just starting to kind of struggle a little bit, and now Boston is clicking on all cylinders, and that's why we currently have the score that we do. And if that continues in the second half, Boston will win this game and could potentially have the momentum to keep winning. So we'll have to see. Jack said, I'm sorry the Brewers getting, that happened to him. I hate to see that. I hope it won't be like the A's. Yeah, we'll have to see for sure. Definitely have to stay updated on that. Sorge said, extorting for taxpayer to subsidize MLB. I mean, who knows? I have no idea. I have no idea, when it comes to business deals like that with, renovations and teams and stadiums and teams moving. It's like the Seattle Supersonics in the NBA going to the Oklahoma City Thunder. Really interesting there as well. Sorge said, the state assembly passed that our governor proposed. It's going to be interesting. It definitely will be interesting. I mean, it's going to be very interesting for sure to see what happens with that. Jeff's a splash for White. Yeah, Derek White, I mean, that was a fantastic shot by Derek White. He's hit a couple threes. Marcus Smart, I think he's at 4 or 5 3. I think 4. Tatum's hit a couple. Brown's hit like 3. The Celtics are money from 3. So it's crazy for sure. I mean, if they keep doing what they're doing, then Boston will win. The Gold said this looks like it's going to be a high-scoring game. For sure. And sometimes when you look at, teams in the NBA, and someone will say that was a low-scoring game because of bad defense or good defense, and that was a high-scoring game because of bad defense. Sometimes it's not about the defense. Sometimes you could just be playing so well on the offensive end that good defense don't matter. That's why they always say good offense beats good defense. So I think Miami could be doing better on the defensive end, but Boston's in the zone. Right now, Boston's playing so well that Miami, whatever they do, is not going to really help on the defensive end. Maybe they need to tighten up the rotations a bit better, switch when they need to switch, and then recover better to be able to prevent the open 3. I think that would definitely help. Because there were several times where Marcus Smart was left wide open. And when you leave a guy like Marcus Smart wide open, and you're banking on him missing, but he starts to make threes, that gives him the confidence. And then once you start to guard him, it don't matter because he's already in the zone. He's already playing well. So you kind of already passed that point where no matter what you do now, he's going to keep hitting the shot. So that's when you needed to guard him better earlier in the game, where he wasn't going to be able to get going like that. And if you did that, then maybe Marcus Smart wouldn't be playing as well as he is right now. But Miami, they kind of left him over. So that's the only part you could say that they kind of play bad defense there. But some games, teams just play good defense and it doesn't matter. But some games is bad defense and bad offense. But if there's bad offense, you're not going to score a lot. Sorgy Story definitely talked about the baseball. Really interesting for sure. Sorgy Story said momentum only lasts as long as you keep it. That's the key for Boston. 100%. I mean, that is the key. I completely agree. That's what I was talking about at the beginning of this game when Boston started out well. It's about playing like it for 48 minutes. Specifically, like 40. If you play great for 40 minutes and you have like 8 minutes where you don't play that well, you usually are going to win a game unless the other team plays better for longer or maybe doesn't play great for 48 minutes. Doesn't play great for 40 minutes and then not great for 8 minutes, but just plays really good for 48 minutes. If you play really good for 48 minutes and the other team plays great for 40, then has a bad stretch, you can still lose. But the more often that you play great in a game, the better chance you're going to win. You looked at the Phoenix Suns against the Denver Nuggets. There were several games where Phoenix had bad stretches, like several bad stretches in the game. And then other parts of the game they were playing well, but they already dug themselves in a hole. It's not going to matter because of the fact they had too many stretches where they played poorly. You definitely have to play really good in a game for as long as possible and keep your bad stretches to a minimum. No team's perfect. All teams are going to struggle, but you can't allow yourself to go, scoreless for 5-6 minutes and allow the other team to go on a 20-0 run. Can't do that. If you're going to play poorly, then you're going to have to try to keep that to a 3 to 4 minute drought, and maybe the other team only goes like a 10-0 run. That's not too bad, but you just can't get, destroyed on just one bad run that costs you the entire game. Jeff said the Celtics are smoking, baby. I 100% agree with you. I mean, the Celtics, there's not much else that you can say. There's just not much else you can say with how the Boston Celtics are playing right now. I mean, they're playing like we thought they would play earlier in the series. This is the way we thought that they would have played against the 76ers and the Hawks. I don't really think Boston ever hit that gear. Yeah, Jason Tatum had the 51 against the 76ers, but I don't really think that Boston ever played, at the best of, their ability in this playoff. In the 2023 NBA playoffs. They've never reached that point. They've had some decent games. They've had some pretty good stretches. But the last two games, the fourth quarter and the third quarter, specifically the fourth quarter of Game 4 against Miami, and then this first half here, this is Boston playing almost at their best. There's still a second half, though. So we have no idea if Boston's going to be able to keep this up. But the Boston Celtics are playing some of the best basketball they can possibly play. They're making threes. They're hustling. That's the most important thing because Game 3 would not have gone as badly as it did, even though Boston was not shooting the ball well. But even if they lose that game, there's no way that they get beat by 30. But Boston's defense was awful in that game. Yeah, Miami was shooting the ball well. Complete credit to them. They were awesome from the arc. But still, Boston wasn't defending like they can. Boston was mightily struggling on defense in Game 3. And you could tell about the second half, they just looked like they wanted the game to be over and they knew they were already done. They weren't trying to fight back in the game. See, the one thing I will give credit to Miami, we've never reached a point in this game where it looks like Miami's given up. And that's why Boston's not up by more than they are. Boston could be up in this game by over 20 points, but Miami continued to just kind of hang in there. Even though they've had a couple stretches where they've almost kind of fallen completely apart. They haven't completely fallen apart. And the beginning of this second half is going to be very important because if Boston goes on a 7-0, 8-0 run to start the second half, then Miami could fold. Who knows if they will? I don't think Eric Spoelstra's that type of coach that's going to allow his players to fold like that. Even though, you could argue that Miami's down by so much, let the game go and then give it all you got in Game 6 to win the series. Who knows if that would be their strategy in that instance. But if Miami goes on an 8-0 run, forces Joe Mazzulla to call TO, Boston's kind of, oh no, we're only up by 8-9 points. Could we actually give this game away and lose the series? Because Boston's the one that's, on the brink. Miami's not on the brink yet. Even though the talk is that, but can Boston come back and beat Miami? Miami's nowhere near panic mode yet. Any game that Boston loses, they're done. So if Miami puts game pressure on Boston and makes it where Boston is afraid to lose, at any point. Like if Miami can get it to like 5 points in the fourth quarter, Boston, they're like, oh no, if we lose this game, we're out. That's the key here. Miami has to put game pressure on Boston in this game. Even if Miami doesn't win this game, I really think it would help the Heat if they put a lot of game pressure on Boston and make them have to work for this win, instead of it being where Boston easily wins and they don't have to worry about losing. I think that would really help the Heat. Now, whether they're able to do that or not, we're definitely going to find out in the second half. I'm looking forward to the second half for sure. Should be very interesting. Really appreciate all you guys for being here. Should be a great second half. But I do think that what the Miami Heat do in this game is important, for even the future of this series. Even if Miami doesn't win the game, I think that barely losing would still help, because of the fact that you're sending a message to Boston that we could have won. You were this close to losing, and now we're going back to our place. We're confident we can get it done. But if Miami gets beat by 25 points, I just don't think that's going to help Miami's momentum at all. Maybe that makes them irritated and frustrated, and now everybody's like, oh, Boston's going to win the series, and then Miami goes back home, and, they use that pent-up energy, and then they beat Boston. Who knows? I mean, you can look at this at a million different angles, but I still think that it would be good for Miami to play really well in the second half. If they don't win, play hard and try not to get beat badly. Trent Ross says Williams is shutting down Bam. Miami can't let that happen. For sure. I mean, that's a big key, because Bam Adebayo right now is their second best player statistically past Jimmy Butler, even though you've got the undrafted guys that have been playing so well for Miami in this series until now. Bam Adebayo is still the guy that averages the second most points of the active players for Miami at this time. He's got to do better than what he's currently putting out. If Bam Adebayo only scores 10, 12 points, Miami more than likely isn't winning unless Caleb Martin or Max Strus, one of those guys, is 30. I mean, you're not going to win. So I agree with you that Miami can't let that happen. You're absolutely right, Trent Brown. I agree with you 110%. I think that Miami has to find a way to get Bam going. Whether that's getting him in space, trying to get him to the foul line, hit some free throws, because he's got some good looks. Yeah, I would agree with you. Williams has done a good job defending him. Both Williams, to be honest, Robert Williams and Grant Williams, when Grant Williams has been switched on, but specifically Robert Williams. But I still feel like Bam's gotten some good looks. He just hasn't hit them. Bam's one of those players that when he's feeling it in the mid-range, he's money. He can hit them all. But then there are games where he can't hit any of them. And unfortunately for Miami, tonight seems to be one of those nights where Bam is just not consistently hitting the mid-range shot. So we'll have to see if he does a little bit better. It's going to be really interesting. But the second half is about to start. Be very interesting to see how both Boston and Miami start this second half. And whoever goes on a quick 7-0 run could be very telling in the end result of this game. Jaylen Brown driving into the lane. He gets stopped by Jimmy Butler. Great defense. Derek White in the corner, and Derek White cannot hit the three. Kyle Lowry with the rebound. Sorgy Story says Knights 2 stars 1. That's really cool. Thanks for the update right there. Now you've got 11:30 to go in the third quarter. Bam Adebayo on the left block, trying to drive on Tatum, and looked like Boston had a steal, but they're going to call a foul. Might have been on Tatum on the back end, or it could have been Marcus Smart, either of them, but it looked like they're going to call a foul for reaching in on Bam Adebayo. So no free throws, obviously. There's no teams in the bonus yet. We just started the third quarter, and it was not on a shot, but still big for Miami to draw the first foul of the game, of the second half in this game on Boston. Jimmy Butler drove in the lane. He laid it in, but it looked like they called another foul on Boston. It looked like it was before the shot. So Jimmy Butler draws that foul. So now 2 quick fouls on the Boston Celtics within a minute of this third quarter. Smart by Miami. Got to get some fouls on Boston. Get him in some foul trouble. Maybe get to the line. Get you some confidence back. Hitting some free throws. Max Strus, he can't hit the three. However, Al Horford has the rebound. 11-10 to go in the third quarter. Tatum at the top of the key over to Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown driving on Max Strus. Goes over the shoulder. Jaylen Brown cannot hit the jump hook. Now Jimmy Butler with the rebound. Under 11 to go in the third. Jimmy Butler with Jaylen Brown guarding him at the top of the key. Jimmy Butler trying to make a move. Now he switches over to Derek White. trying to drive with the mid-range. It looked like he was going to go up with it, but he was stopped by Derek White. Now out to Kyle Lowry. Lowry driving in, and Lowry loses the ball. No foul. Everyone went in slow motion there. It looked like maybe there was a foul Lowry was looking for, but he loses the ball, and it rolls right to Horford. Jaylen Brown, top of the key. Now over to Marcus Smart. 10:30 to go in the third. Al Horford with Lowry on, and that's a matchup advantage for Al Horford, and Al Horford takes advantage with a slam dunk. 63-244. Lowry was no match for Horford. Now Lowry going down the floor, top of the key, over to Jimmy Buckets in the mid-range. Looks like he has an open lane on Derek White. Takes a mid-range floater, and he knocks it down. Jimmy Butler is going to have to come to life, you would think, in this second half to give the Heat a chance. Derek White, he lost a shoe, but he's putting it on, going back down the floor. Marcus Smart lets that ball roll to allow Derek White to put his shoe back on. 9:50 to go in the third quarter. Marcus Smart over to Al Horford. Over to Jaylen Brown, trying to drive on Strus. Jaylen Brown all the way to the rim, and he misses a relatively easy two. That's a shot Jaylen Brown's going to want back. He could have made that shot, just couldn't get it to fall. Kyle Lowry, he's got the basketball over to Bam. Bam Adebayo in the mid-range. Now you've got Jimmy Butler feeding it back to Bam Adebayo. Bam with Horford on him. 5 seconds on the shot clock. Bam for two. And again, Bam Adebayo misses another mid-range shot. He just cannot get any of those to fall. Usually he's able to knock them down, but not tonight. And Jaylen Brown the other end with a slam dunk. Eric Spoelstra does not want to call a timeout yet. He has 4 left, but a little bit early in the third to call that first timeout of the second half. 17 points for Jaylen Brown. His arm, again, looking very well in this game. Jaylen Brown been struggling with some injuries to that arm, but he's shooting the ball well in this game. Definitely seems like either he's starting to feel better or he's got the energy because Boston's playing so well. Jaylen Brown all the way to the other end. He misses a shot. Tatum tried to get the board. It could not. Jimmy Butler going down the other end all the way to the rim, and Jimmy Butler for 2. Nice hang time on that drive. 65-48. 8:30 to go in the third. Jaylen Brown looking for, I think, a foul on Butler, but he's not going to get one. 8:25 to go in the third. Tatum to Marcus Smart, and that is vintage Celtics ball. Got to pass the ball to the open man. Tatum, much improved passer. Marcus Smart giving Tatum that assist with that nice floater. Again, Marcus Smart's engaged. And when Marcus Smart's engaged, that makes Boston a much better team. Jimmy Butler, top of the key. Smart guarding Bam. Bam trying to turn shoulder, kicks it back to Jimmy Butler, and Al Horford with the steal. What defense by Boston. They are giving Miami fits. And a terrible pass by Marcus Smart. One of his biggest mistakes in this game. He tried to do an alley-oop to Tatum, and he threw it probably 10 feet over his head. Maybe a little bit of a hyperbole, but it still was pretty high over his head. And Hayden Highsmith with a breakdown on defense by the Boston Celtics. Hayden Highsmith drains a 3. So 67-51. And Joe Mazzulla, he calls a timeout because he does not want to give Miami any confidence right now. They've only cut it to 16, but still, momentum is momentum. Trent Brown says, I would say Miami needs to get way more physical, but they have so many out already. Tough spot, up 3-1. I just don't get it. Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, the injuries are starting to pile up for Miami, and they seem to be a little bit out of gas. I mean, you just watch them play. They're still playing hard, but you can just tell, like, Boston has more energy. And granted, this game's in Boston, the home crowd, you would think would automatically give Boston more energy. But in the first 2 games of the series, Miami was the team with more energy. Even though I don't necessarily think Boston played poorly in the first 2 games of this series at home, even though they did lose both those games, Miami just had more energy. Miami found ways to win both games. Tonight, Miami just seems like they're out of gas. They just seem like they're just a little bit on E, and Boston's just playing really hard. Trent Ross says it's a conspiracy. That's funny. Jeff says, what I have for the Celtics. I mean, I completely agree with you. I mean, 100%. I mean, there's nothing else you can say about the Boston Celtics first half. But, I mean, that was about as good of a first half as you can get. I mean, we've seen teams with bigger leads at the half than what Boston had. But Miami was trying on the defensive end. It's not like they weren't trying at all. They were really doing everything they possibly could to slow down Boston. But Boston just kept hitting 3 after 3. They were lights out from 3. And just a couple games ago, they couldn't even make a 3 hardly, it seemed. So it just goes to show you how quickly teams' fortunes can change based on shots falling in, how players can get hot. Just Marcus Smart draining a couple of those threes in game 4 in that second half has allowed him to be able to go out in this game and play at a high level because he's engaged playing so hard. So it's crazy just how quickly a player can go from really struggling to playing really good basketball. Just once a couple shots go in. Sometimes all you need is a couple shots to go in, and you start playing at a much higher level. Booker's dad, thanks for being here, says we're sending Lowry to join Dwight. I mean, hey, I will say Kyle Lowry's had his moments. I don't think Kyle Lowry's completely out of it. I think that he still has, good games in him. But is Kyle Lowry what he once was? Of course not. But he still tries. He's still a pesky defender, and he still can knock down a three every now and then. I mean, he's better served off the bench now for Miami, which is what Eric Spoelstra did. He put Gabe Vincent in, the younger guy with energy, going out there and knocking down threes. And then Kyle Lowry would come off the bench and provide the veteran experience that he does. But unfortunately for the Miami Heat, now Gabe Vincent's out in this game, so that has forced Kyle Lowry to play more in this game, and they're having to even go with more non-point guard rotations where they don't really have a true point guard on the floor, and that's just what they have to go with. But still, I mean, I agree with you. Definitely, looking at Kyle Lowry, he's not the player that he used to be, but he still can play for sure. So it's very interesting. But still, I think that overall, looking at, the Boston Celtics, their energy is why they're winning. Miami, even though they're shorthanded, don't feel like Miami's been completely awful in this game, but just Boston's energy has been the reason that's led them to be winning this game. And it's going to give them a chance to win this series and do the unthinkable, come back from 3 down if they can just continue to be able to keep this momentum up. And like Sorgi said earlier, momentum is a fleeting thing. You've got to be able to continue to keep the momentum and keep playing well. And any time when that stops, Miami can win the series. But right now, Boston doesn't want to hear any of that. They're playing really well. Jason Tatum to Al Horford, out to Derek White for 3, and Derek White knocks down the 3, 70-51. 7:20 to go in the third. Stories at Knights and Stars tied 2-2. That's really cool. But what a 3 by Derek White. And again, exquisite passing by the Celtics, which is leading to these open threes. Still got to knock them down, but the passes, the really good passing by Boston has led to these open threes and has allowed the shots to go in at a higher rate, because when you get a pass in the shooting pocket, there's a better chance you're going to make that shot. When you have to reach over and grab the ball and then shoot the 3, sometimes it takes you out of rhythm. But it looks like Miami turns it over. Jaylen Brown poked the ball from behind on Bam, and then Bam fouls Al Horford when he's going up the floor. 7:02 to go in the third. Boston up by 19. Miami's going to have to find a way to get something going soon, or Boston will be in complete control of this game. Down by 19 mid-third is not where Miami wants to be. Jason Tatum trying to drive by Max Strus. Kicks to Al Horford. Horford back to Jason Tatum in the mid-range. He goes up over Strus, and what a mid-range 2 by Jason Tatum. That's a tough shot. That's a Kevin Durant-like shot right there. That's a great play by Jason Tatum. Lowry on the other end for the Miami Heat. 6:30 to go. Lowry over to Hayden Highsmith, who has been forced into more action for the Heat with all the players that they are down. Jimmy Butler driving into the lane. Jimmy Butler trying to drive by White. Instead goes over the shoulder, and he hits a mid-range 2. Good shot by Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler's great at that shot. Now you've got Al Horford on the other end. To Jaylen Brown with Hayden Highsmith on. Now over to Horford. To Jason Tatum. Tatum attacking again to the rim. And Tatum, I think they call a goaltend on Bam. Bam Adebayo tried to block that shot, but it looks like they're going to get him for a goaltend. Let's see if it was. Tatum. Ooh, that's close. It could go either way, but it might have hit the glass. When it hits the glass first, that will be a goaltend every single time. Max Strus to Bam Adebayo, and somehow Bam Adebayo got that shot to fall. What a play by Bam. 5:40 to go in the third quarter. Miami trying to hang around, but they're down by 19. Boston keeps their foot on the gas, it should be good to go. Marcus Smart over to Tatum. Tatum trying to draw a foul. Now it's over to Al Horford, to Smart, to Jaylen Brown. passing it to everybody except Derek White has not gotten a touch yet on this possession. Jaylen Brown driving in all the way to the rim, and Jaylen Brown lays it in off the glass. Jaylen Brown playing so much better than he was earlier in the series. He looks to be back. 76-55, 21-point lead for Boston. Bam Adebayo. He scores finally in the mid-range. That has to be Bam's first mid-range bucket to fall. He's been struggling to shoot that shot, but he finally gets it to fall. So maybe for Miami, that can get him going. 76-57, 4:50 to go in the third. Tatum to Marcus Smart to Jaylen Brown down low. Brown almost lost the basketball, but he keeps trying to drive by Lowry with a mid-range two. His shot is too strong. Bam with the board, going up the floor. Bam trying to attack. 4:30 to go all the way to the rim, and Bam for two more. 76-59. Under 4:30 to go in the third. Jason Tatum bringing it up the floor, but Bam now with 12 points and 1 block. He's 6 of 13 in the field, so he's starting to get some buckets to fall. It's exactly what Miami needs right now. Marcus Smart in the corner. To Jason Tatum driving in, and Tatum's fouled. Jason Tatum is fouled on that drive. I think they're going to call it on Max Strus right there, potentially with a blocking foul. Like he was trying to draw a charge, but he's not going to get the call. But Bam, starting to hit some shots for the Heat is huge because of the fact that they are in a big hole right now. Not potentially an insurmountable hole. They still technically could come back, but the way that Boston's playing, they're doing everything they can to keep Miami at bay. Miami needs somebody to step up besides Jimmy Butler, and it does seem like Bam Adebayo is starting to get going a little bit. That is huge for the Heat. Hopefully for the Heat, he can continue to make buckets. Tatum, he does miss the first free throw. Tatum, a great free throw shooter, but sometimes he does struggle at the line a little bit when he is fatigued. Maybe he's a little bit tired. I have no idea, but he was off on that free throw. It wasn't even that close either. But he still is a great free throw shooter. You would think he would hit the second. Grant Williams, he's now into the game for Boston. Caleb Martin is into the game now for the Miami Heat. Tatum's second free throw, he knocks it down. Finally gets that one to fall. 77-59. 4:10 to go in the third. Bam up the floor. Can Bam continue this little flurry he has for the Heat? Duncan Robinson, he's into the game as well for the Heat. Bam for two, and Bam knocks it down. See, Bam hit one mid-range, and now he hits another one. 16-point game. Miami chipping away at this thing a little bit. Boston going back up the floor. Jason Tatum gets it from Marcus Smart. Both teams shooting great from the field in this quarter. Miami's 8 of 11, Boston's 7 of 12, but Miami needs stops. Grant Williams for three, and Miami's not going to get a stop there because Grant Williams, fresh off the bench, knocks down another three, and Boston continues to shoot the ball well from deep. 80-61. Duncan Robinson with the ball. 3:20 to go in the third. Hayden Highsmith off the dribble, trying to drive on Grant Williams. Kicks to Jimmy Buckets. Back to Highsmith, and Highsmith with the soft dunk. He didn't rock the rim, but he barely got that one in. 80-63. That was a pretty good dunk by Hayden Highsmith. Kevin Love, he's still on the bench as well. Don't know why he's not out there playing, potentially, you could say. That Miami's trying to go with the guys that are playing better in this game. But Kevin Love, a very experienced guy that is not into the game right now for the Heat. Derek White, he goes up strong. And again, if Boston just continues to score like they are, Miami is not going to be able to keep up. Boston and Miami just keep trading buckets. And Derek White with 19 crucial points to help out Tatum and Brown in the scoring column. Duncan Robinson almost loses the ball going inside, but he recovers and misses the layup. He had a great look. Could not get that one to fall. Tatum driving into the lane, goes up strong, misses the layup. Bam with the rebound after Butler tipped it to him. Bam down the floor to Duncan Robinson. Duncan Robinson, he gets that layup to fall. He wasn't going to miss two in a row. 82-65, 2:20 to go in the third quarter. Duncan Robinson, he is panting as he goes down the floor. Both teams are fatigued with the amount of effort both teams are displaying on the floor. Both teams are exhausted, I'm sure. Specifically Miami, because they are without as many rotational players as they usually have. Marcus Smart down the floor. He gets that one to fall. 84-65, 19-point lead for Boston. And yet again, Marcus Smart contributing at a high level is huge for Boston because he is so much more engaged on the defensive end when he's playing well on the offensive end. Jimmy Butler. And right as I say that, Marcus Smart with the steal, and he's fouled by Caleb Martin. That's a hard foul. Hopefully, Marcus Smart is okay. He looks to be a little banged up, but he is getting up. Hard foul by Caleb Martin to prevent Smart from getting that layup to go. But see right there, as Marcus Smart gets his offense going right there with the steal, and he does not get that layup to fall, but he will have a couple of free throws after the break. 84-65 Boston over Miami, 145 to go in the third. Jeff says, Brown, what a dunk. Yeah, I agree with you. Jaylen Brown, that was a fantastic dunk, but all of these players for Boston that have dunked the ball have been dunking it with authority. And when you can tell when a team is confident, that's what they do. They dunk the ball hard. In Miami, they've had some dunks as well, a couple of really good dunks. But Boston has been dunking with authority. They're at home. They want to get their crowd on their feet. But when you're feeling it and you're up big and you're really enjoying yourself out there on the floor because of how well you are playing, that's definitely when you get some of the biggest highlight reel dunks. And I don't know if Boston, if they do win this game, whether they can, in game 6 and game 7, keep up this momentum, keep up this level of play. But right now, Miami being shorthanded, and, they did show Tyler Hero out there. He's cleared for basketball activities. He was practicing a little bit before the game. Maybe Tyler Hero can return. Who knows? That would be a big issue for Miami to be able to help with their depth issues and potentially have enough scoring to be able to beat Boston in game 6. If he would be able to come back, don't know if he will. Maybe he probably won't. They did say until the finals. But Miami needs an offensive jolt. Because unfortunately, the undrafted players for Miami, besides Duncan Robinson, he actually has been playing well in this game. But besides Duncan Robinson, Miami's not getting the contributions that they were getting from those guys. It's very unfortunate for Miami because of the fact if they were getting the production that they were getting out of Robinson, Strus, and Caleb Martin, and Gabe Vincent, if he was available tonight, then Miami probably would be either tied or barely losing this game. But since they're not getting the production from those guys, and Jimmy Butler is not having as big of performances as he was earlier in these playoffs, Miami's down by 19. And Boston is so engaged on the defensive end. You can tell looking at players like Marcus Smart and Robert Williams. Their defense has ratcheted up the last 2 games, especially game 3. Again, that was the game Boston played the worst, but you could just see it. Marcus Smart and Robert Williams, 2 of the best defenders in the NBA, were just not super engaged on defense. Yes, when they got down big, it's tough to be engaged on defense. But Robert Williams was struggling to rebound on Cody Zeller. So Boston just was not there. But now, Robert Williams is rebounding over everybody. Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, Cody Zeller. And Marcus Smart is being the pest that he is to the other team. Going out there, getting steals, making life difficult on the other team. And that is how Boston wins, with great offense, great passing, knocking down tons of threes, again, passing the ball at a high level, low turnovers. That's how Boston wins. But Boston also wins with their intensity on defense. And you could say maybe that their poor offense was leading to the poor defense, but defense leads to offense. You've got to increase your defense. You've got to ratchet up your defense if you want to win big games, because if you do, that's going to help you play better on the offensive end because you're engaged on defense, and getting defensive stops allows you to score. If you're struggling on the defensive end, that's not going to help you out offensively. Maybe you could say, well, they score, maybe we can score it back. But if you're not hitting shots, you're going to fall behind big and lose. Boston's just doing a much better job on the offensive and defensive end. And they're 31-73 from 3 in the last 7 quarters. So Boston's just going out there and giving Miami a taste of their own medicine. They're hitting threes like Miami was earlier in the series when Miami couldn't miss. From game 1 to game 3, Miami could not miss, it seemed, from 3. Now the roles have reversed, and Boston's that team. Boston is the team going out there that is hitting all their threes. So it's crazy how the flip is script, but the script is flipped, but it is what it is. We'll have to see if Miami can make a comeback in this game, but it is looking increasingly less likely the further we go in this game. Marcus Smart, he splits a pair of free throws, so it's 85-65. 1:40 to go in the third quarter. Caleb Martin with the basketball, top of the key being guarded by Grant Williams. Can Caleb Martin make an impact like he was earlier in this series? Jimmy Butler trying to make a move. Peyton Pritchard's into the game now for Boston. They're giving him a little bit of run since they got this big lead. Bam Adebayo down low, and Grant Williams playing great defense. What a steal. Marcus Smart over to Jason Tatum, to Marcus Smart for a three, and Marcus Smart knocks down another three. That has to be his fifth three of the game. 88-65. 1 to go in the third, and Boston leads by 23. Jimmy Butler to Duncan Robinson being guarded by Peyton Pritchard. Now over to Caleb Martin, and Caleb Martin drains the three. Big shot by Caleb Martin, but unfortunately for mine, it's only going to cut it to 20. They're going to need a lot more where that came from. 50 seconds to go in the third. Tatum over to Marcus Smart. Caleb Martin on, who just hit that big three. Can Marcus Smart return the favor and hit a jump shot? Marcus Smart tries to get down low to Robert Williams. He does. Robert Williams back to Peyton Pritchard. Pritchard off the dribble. Pritchard loses the ball. He slipped. Hayden Hossman with the steal. Hossman to Duncan Robinson to Bam. And Bam with the dunk over Marcus Smart. That was a big dunk by Bam Adebayo. What ferocity there. Even though Miami's down by 20, you can tell Bam is still engaged. That was a fantastic dunk. He annihilated the rim and Marcus Smart on that drive. 31.8 seconds left, and we have a timeout on the floor. Jackson says, don't want to call it early, but it looks like we are seeing a Game 6 on Saturday. I would agree with you. It's not over yet. It's never over till it's over. Still plenty of time, and as we've seen in the NBA, teams can score so quickly, and the other team can get cold. Miami can go on a 15-0 run, to start the fourth quarter, and they're right back in the game. But like you said, the way the game's going, it does feel like the Boston Celtics are going to stay alive for another game. And it's going to be going back to the Miami Heat. It's going to be very difficult for the Boston Celtics to win at Miami, but they've done it once. They did it in Game 4. So if they win this game, they'll have a shot, especially if Miami still doesn't have Gabe Vincent. I would think Gabe Vincent would return. I feel like Eric Spoelstra kept him out because he knows he's going to have him for Game 6. Who knows with Tyler Hero? He's still a mystery. But I do think that Miami is going to give it all that they've got if they don't win this game tonight. In Game 6, at home, their final home game, knowing that they have to win the game to be able to safely win this series. Because if it goes to Game 7 and it's back at Boston, stranger things have occurred. But you would think the momentum by then would lead Boston because they've won the last 3. It's going to be back in Boston. Miami's fatigued. It just would not be a good sign whatsoever for the Miami Heat if it goes to a Game 7 and it's back in Boston. But it's going to be interesting. That's a long way away. This is still Game 5. Boston still has to close out this game, but they're looking really good to do so and potentially, like Jackson says, get to a Game 6 that we'll have on Saturday night. Jason Tatum over to Jaylen Brown. 15 seconds left. Back to Tatum, top of the key. Inside to Robert Williams. And Robert Williams with the patience and a reverse dunk. What a play by Tatum to Williams. And what athleticism by Robert Williams and the wherewithal to go up with a reverse dunk. Caleb Martin tries to get a screen by Bam. Bam rejects the screen, goes inside. Martin at the top of the key. Martin takes a mid-range 2, and Martin drains the 2 with 0.6 seconds. That could be a little bit of a momentum booster for the Miami Heat at the end of the third, but still down by 18. 12 minutes to go in this game. Boston up 90-72. End of the third quarter. Trent Ross, to see what happens when they get physical, just got to be careful. For sure. I mean, Miami trying to be physical in this game. They're doing everything they possibly can. But like you said, when they get physical, then you see Caleb Martin potentially getting injured. You just can't have any more injuries. Miami, the last thing that they could possibly suffer right now is more injuries. They are down so many players, and an injury or 2 more would give Miami no chance at all to win this game or potentially this series. They have to have every guy that they have on the floor out there. And you want to be physical. You want to show Boston you're not afraid to bang, and you're going to go after all the rebounds. You're going to play hard. But if you play too hard, you can physically harm yourself, and then that's going to give Miami an even less of a chance to be able to win, this series. So they got to stay healthy at all costs. They need Gabe Vincent back. Hopefully for them, they can maybe get Tyler Hero back. With the Boston Celtics, hopefully they can stay healthy, but they're completely healthy right now. All their guys are out there on the floor, and they need to continue to stay healthy because Boston, they are at their best when they've got all their players on the floor. They can't, afford Robert Williams to get banged up. He has had so many injuries throughout his career, but he's a great player. But why is he always hurt? Because he plays so hard. He plays so physical. You got to find a way to balance playing hard and physical with also playing safe and not harming your body. Sometimes injuries occur. I mean, there's nothing you can do. Like Victor Oladipo driving the lane, he unfortunately hurt his knee. I mean, that's one of those. It was non-contact, but Tyler Hero trying to go after the ball and then his hand swipes the ball. He breaks his finger. I mean, it's one of those things where that would have been avoided if he didn't go for the ball, but you're trying to, play hard. So it's interesting. It's one of the toughest things to deal with in sports, playing hard versus not getting injured. But even if Miami was completely healthy, I think they'd still struggle in this game because Boston is playing really well. I think it'd be closer to a tie game, but Boston is playing well. Miami just did a great job in the first 3 games of keeping Boston at bay. Boston was struggling to shoot the ball, and Miami was doing a great job of shooting the ball. But again, the scripts flip. Boston's the team that's looking like Miami. They're the team that's going out there and rebounding well. They're not turning the ball over like Miami wasn't turning it over earlier in this series. Boston's hitting their threes. They're on fire. And unfortunately, when you're in the NBA, there's not much you can do when the other team's on fire. There's not much you can do. That's why teams that are at the bottom of the NBA win games, because sometimes they have a good game or sometimes the other team is sitting players as well against that team and then they win. But still, overall, looking at the Boston Celtics, they're just that team right now. They're the team that's playing better. They're the team that's making their shots. And if they continue to do that in this fourth quarter, they'll win the game. And if they continue to do it for 2 more games, they'll win the series, be the first ever to come back from 3 down, which would be insane. And be able to match up with the Denver Nuggets, probably the 2 deepest teams in the NBA. But still, Miami, definitely don't want to let that happen. But the Heat, maybe in a little bit of danger if they keep giving Boston some momentum in this series. Trevor Ross and Miami came out playing bully ball and timeout Celtics. I completely agree. They did a good job to start in the second half, but Boston responded. The Gold said there's still a lot of time. A 3-4 minute run will tie the game. These guys are here because they're that good, holding my breath. Yeah, I would agree with you. I mean, Miami can still make a run, but Boston has responded. That definitely should give Celtics fans confidence because Boston has responded every single time Miami's gone on a run. So that definitely should be a confidence booster for Celtics fans and for the Celtics themselves because they haven't allowed Miami to get right back in this game. They've kept them at bay, but we'll have to see. 12 minutes to go. Start of the 4th. Jimmy Butler over to Duncan Robinson, back to Butler to Caleb Martin in the corner. Really good defense by Boston. They recovered really well on that play. Martin for 3 again. He can't hit the shot. Kevin Love into the game now for Miami. He misses a 3. He cannot get off the bench and be an impact right there on that shot, but maybe he can do something really good on the defensive end. Derek White to the top of the key to Jaylen Brown, over to Jason Tatum. 11:20 to go in the 4th. Boston does not have to be quick on these next few possessions. Just kind of like drain the clock, get it down to around 5 on the shot clock, try to take a good shot. And then you have Derek White. 4-3. He misses the shot, but he's fouled. The absolute last thing that the Miami Heat could have possibly afforded right there just came to pass. Jimmy Butler trying to guard Derek White, and he did not allow him to land, and the refs call a foul. And Derek White will have 3 free throws. Derek White in game 3 at 16 points. Tonight he has 19 points. He's 5 of 7 from 3. And when players like Derek White or Malcolm Brogdon are playing well for Boston, it goes a long way in helping them be able to win games because it just makes them that much of a deeper team. And those rotational players are doing a great job. It's not just Tatum and Brown. Derek White misses the second free throw. So at best, he can only go 2 for 3, potentially put up Boston by 20. Marcus Smart's on the bench holding his foot. Hopefully Marcus Smart is okay. But again, Marcus Smart, another player, takes a lot of contact. He's a very physical player. That's why he always gets banged up. Derek White, he does hit the last free throw. So he went 2 for 3, 92-72 Boston with the first points of the 4th quarter. Can Miami respond? Can Miami go on a run and make it interesting? 11:10 to go in the 4th quarter. Caleb Martin trying to drive on Derek White, decides better of it, kicks it to Hayden Highsmith. Now to Duncan Robinson. Back out to Highsmith, and there's a turnover. The Miami Heat with a turnover that they cannot afford right there. The Celtics bringing it back up the floor. Eric Spoelstra trying to settle his team down, but he knows Miami is in some hot water. They're down by 20, and that's a big turnover. Jason Tatum to Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown trying to get to Al Horford. Good defense by Kevin Love, but Horford still ends up with the ball. Horford out to Grant Williams. He thought about the 3. Grant Williams fakes. Driving into the lane, and Grant Williams is fouled by Duncan Robinson. That could either be Duncan Robinson's fourth or fifth foul. I think it's his fourth. Don't know if he's already picked up a fourth yet, but still a smart play by Grant Williams to get into the chest of Duncan Robinson, draw that foul, get to the line, try to extend this lead for the Celtics. Victor, thanks for being here. Says Celtics finding tooth and nail to score good baskets. Celtics wants to push the series to Game 7. This is much better than a sweep. For sure. I mean, if Boston does not win the series, again, it's a much better look that the Celtics have fought hard and done what they've done here, because they could have been swept. That would have been a terrible look. I mean, the Lakers played hard against Denver, but they still lost the series. So they have nothing to show for it. But Boston is making things interesting. And like you said, it looks much better than a sweep, and they're playing hard. I mean, this is the Boston team we were expecting all series long that we have not gotten until now. And if they keep this up, they could win the series outright. Who knows? Miami almost with another turnover after Grant Williams hits 2 free throws. So it's 94-72, but the ball they're going to say is off of the Boston Celtics. So it will remain Miami Heat ball, but Miami needs some buckets and quickly. Jackson said the Heat need hero. They need a hero at the end of the night. That's for sure. Hey, that's a good one, Jackson, but I completely agree with you. But unfortunately, Hero is not going to be playing in this game, but they definitely need him before the series is done if he can possibly play. Caleb Martin misses a layup right there. Tatum back the other way. All the way to the rim. He cannot get to because Miami recovers on defense. But Tatum, he can still get to the rim by backing down on Highsmith, and another foul. This is not going to work for Miami. Miami cannot score on the other end, and Boston just continues to attack. They continue to drive on Miami. They're continuing to get to the line, and they're continuing to make free throws. This is not going to work for the Miami Heat. Nana says, got a late start, but I'm watching this game tonight. Really appreciate you for stopping by. Nana, means a lot. We've got a great game despite it not being that close, but I do really appreciate you for stopping by. Nana also says, looks like Boston's on a roll right now. 100% agree. Boston's been great, and this is the game that they had to have to stay alive in the series, potentially give them some momentum further on the series to maybe be able to win Game 6 and Game 7. That's why I felt like for Miami, they needed to make this a close game. They needed to get, Boston on their heels. And even if Boston won, Miami needed to lose by less than 10. But since Miami's going to get blown out, I really think this could either help Boston have the momentum to continue to play well in the series, or Miami could be furious and then they decide to play really well at home in Game 6. It's going to be really interesting. Tatum, he hits both free throws, so it's 96-72, and Miami with a turnover on the other end. But definitely right now, the Miami Heat, things are getting a little dicey for them, because if they continue to struggle in this series, then Boston could find a way to come back. It looked like Boston was going to have the basketball, but I think that they're giving it back to Miami, and they are. Must have been either out of bounds on Boston, not 100% sure, or it could have been a foul. But Miami has the ball. They catch a break. 9:30 to go in the fourth. Kyle Lowry over to Hayden Highsmith. Hayden Highsmith's had a couple of good plays in this game, and he scores again. 96-74. Again, Miami going to need a lot more of that if they want to have a shot, but Boston just keeps scoring. Haywood Highsmith has 9 points. Again, he's been really solid. Off the bench, he's a guy that does not play that much, but still getting some buckets. Maybe that will help him, give him some confidence if he continues to play in this series. Al Horford, top of the key, shoots a 3. Al Horford off the mark. Grant Williams cannot get the rebound, and Duncan Robinson ends up with it. Over to Lowry. Back to Duncan Robinson. Under 9 minutes to go. Miami running out of time. Duncan Robinson, top of the key, kicks to Kevin Love with a turnaround 2 over Grant Williams, and he knocks it down. 96-76, 20-point game. 8:40 to go in the fourth. Jaylen Brown bringing the ball up the floor. Robert Williams looks like he's about to check in for Boston. Derek White to Al Horford. To Jason Tatum for 3. Tatum's off the mark. And Kevin Love with the rebound. Miami going on a little flurry here. They can score again. They can get it to under 20. Duncan Robinson down the lane all the way to the rim. And Duncan Robinson scores. Timeout, Joe Mazzulla. Probably a good timeout. Miami's on a quick 6-0 run. You definitely want to keep that at bay. You do not want to give Miami Heat the confidence to get back in this game. But Boston, this is one of those things that they do. They take their foot off the gas. That's what I was worried about earlier in this game, because sometimes Boston is a team that when they're up big, they can kind of ease up late in the game. And you don't want to give the other team any confidence that they can still win the game. You're Boston, you want to take out Miami, win comfortably, move on to Game 6, live to fight another day. You just cannot put extra stress and anxiety on you by barely winning, because if you're up by 20, 25 points, you just cannot allow Miami to creep it to 18, 15, 14, and then it gets kind of dicey. Good timeout by Joe Mazzulla. Jada is here. Thanks for stopping by, Jada. I really appreciate it. The Celtics are back. Jeff, how are you? I'm doing really well. I hope you're having a great night as well. But this is a fantastic game and a fantastic series it is becoming because of the fact that the Boston Celtics are coming back in this series. It looked like Miami had a chance to sweep. That's how it was trending. Boston won game 4 to stay alive. Now it's game 5. They're up by 18 right now. They were up by 24, but Joe Mazzulla has to call a timeout because Miami scored the last 6 points. Duncan Robinson continues to play. He's had a good game. He's been one of the bright spots for the Heat, but Jimmy Butler just has not had a fantastic performance. And then other players like Bam Adebayo's had his moments, but unfortunately for the Miami Heat, they just have not been, consistently playing at a high level in this game. They've had their moments, but they have not had a great game. Boston's been playing much better for the most part in this game, but only up by 18. Still 8 to go. There's still technically enough time for Miami. So you need another flurry for the Celtics to officially put the Miami Heat away. Josh says, Canada in the house. Really appreciate you for being here. Really appreciate Nana for being here as well. Really appreciate all you guys for being here. I really do appreciate it. Josh says, love the blog on Kansas. Really appreciate the compliment. Definitely a lot of crazy stuff going on with the Kansas Jayhawks right now. They've got Kevin McCullough back, Hunter Dickinson's transferring to them. They've got a great shot to be the preseason #1 team in college basketball, and they could have a great shot to win a national title. Definitely can't pencil them in as the definite favorite, but they've got a great-looking team on paper. And just like the Kansas Jayhawks have a great-looking team on paper, the Boston Celtics coming into this series had the better team on paper than the Miami Heat, especially with the injuries to Hero and Victor Oladipo. But the Boston Celtics, unfortunately for them, have not played like the better team in the first 3 games. That's why they were down 3-0. But the better team does not always win. Sometimes the team that is not as good on paper plays better in that game. And that's what Miami's done. But unfortunately for the Heat, they're starting to slip up a little bit. Boston's starting to get their footing back. And they're up 96-78 right now. They were up by more, but they're still in complete control of this game. With a couple more minutes of good basketball, Boston could put Miami away. But they're showing the Celtics defense. And that's been the biggest key for Boston as well, is their defense has stepped up last couple games. Their defense was not awful in the first 2 games. It was not good in game 3. But their defense has been much better in game 4, and it's been great tonight in game 5. And if they continue to play good defense and they have a few more really good offensive sets and they can get it to around 4 or 5 minutes left in this game, being up around 20, they should have this game. But 8-10 to go in the 4th, still enough time for Miami. Jason Tatum, top of the key, being guarded by Caleb Martin. Again, Caleb Martin, Duncan Robinson, Max Strus just have not had the impact they had earlier in the series. Maybe they can regain that form back when they get to Miami in Game 6 if the series continues. Marcus Smart could not score. Now Jaylen Brown gets the rebound, kicks to Robert Williams, but they're going to call an offensive foul. Kyle Lowry drew that offensive foul. 7:58 to go in the 4th. Are they going to review it? I'm not sure if they're going to challenge it, but with 7:58 to go in the 4th, might not be a bad idea to challenge, and they are. The Boston Celtics are going to challenge. Let's see. Kyle Lowry, it's close. Kyle Lowry did get in front. I think he is outside the restricted arc, but was he still moving to his right? You can make an argument that he was still moving to his right. And if he is, they're going to overturn this. But I think that you could make an argument that it's too close to call and that it should still remain an offensive foul. And if it is an offensive foul, that could, again, potentially be a little bit of a momentum booster for the Heat. They need all the momentum they can get. Because I think, again, even if Miami does not win this game, losing by less will give Miami more confidence that, hey, we did not play well at all at Boston, and we only lost by 8 to 10 points. If we play much better at home, we can beat Boston in the series. So I think that's the key for Miami. Get some confidence, even if you don't win this game, but get some confidence in the last 8 minutes of this game. Do not get blown out. Try to put pressure on Boston. Give yourself the belief that, hey, we barely lost this game. We'll have to see how it goes, though. We're going to have to see how this charge goes. This charge could be an interesting call because if it remains a charge, it'll be Miami ball, another turnover for Boston, and Boston has not scored in around 3 minutes. So the longer that Boston goes without scoring is going to give Miami more chances to potentially cut into this lead. All Boston has to do is score a few more times. You feel like they're safe, but Boston has gone a little bit cold last couple of minutes, and that offensive foul, if they upheld it, and it will be Miami basketball, then Miami could score and get it to 15. And if they get another stop and get it to 12, that's how you chip away at, deficits, at leads. That's how you get back into games. You just got to take one possession at a time. Get a stop, get a score, get a stop, get a score. And Boston hasn't scored in a couple minutes. So Miami trying to build on that. They've gotten a couple of buckets. So it's going to be really interesting for sure. Jackson says 16 subs away from 1,000 subs. I really appreciate it, Jackson. I really appreciate all you guys so much. Thanks for being here. You guys are the best. Thank you so much for all the stuff. I really appreciate you guys. You guys are awesome. It would not be worth doing without you guys, but you guys are the best. Jack says, congrats, man. Thank you so much for that. I really appreciate you for being here. I really appreciate the words. You guys are awesome, and I really appreciate you, Jackson. Thanks so much. Trent Veron says, Miami needs Bam to be that phenomenal passer. He says he is laughing aloud. Yeah, I mean, Bam's one of those players that since he's an undersized center, you have to do kind of different things to be able to have success in the NBA. Passing the ball, you've got to be able to leap high to be able to get rebounds, get blocks. You got to be quick. The shorter you are, you got to be quick. So for Bam, I mean, you're kind of in a tough spot because you are an undersized center, but I do think that he does do a solid job in a lot of areas. But to your point, I don't necessarily think passing is his greatest strength. And Miami could use his passing more. You look at like Jokic. I mean, the Denver Nuggets' entire offense is based around Jokic passing the ball to his teammates. I don't think, obviously, that Bam has to be that good. And I don't think anybody's expecting Bam to ever be that good at passing. But I do agree with you. He was a little bit better at passing. That definitely could help for sure in, making Miami's offense a little bit better than it is, especially when they're stalled on offense. It's one of those deals where when your guards are doing a great job, when you're healthy, because Miami's down 3 guards right now, which hurts, and having, Gabe Vincent at point guard down, Oladipo and Hero out. But I think that when you're struggling from the guard position, that's when Bam has to be more of a facilitator and be more assertive. Tatum scores. That's big. They did call it. They did reverse the call. They said Lowry was moving. So they called it a blocking foul. I actually think it was the right call. I kind of felt like Lowry was moving to the right, and it benefited Boston. So see, that was a big swing. Because if Miami had gotten the ball back, they could have cut it to 16. Now Boston gets the lead back up to 20, 98-78. 7:20 to go in the fourth. Kevin Love with the ball over Jaylen Brown, and that shot was not even close. Great defense by Jaylen Brown. Did not give Kevin Love an inch of space on that shot. Jason Tatum going down the floor being guarded by Hayden Highsmith. A little over 7 to go in the fourth. Tatum driving in. Tatum for 2. His shot's off the mark, and Caleb Martin's got the rebound. The time is now for Miami. They need points. Duncan Robinson over in the corner to Hayden Highsmith over Jaylen Brown, and Hayden Highsmith drains the 3. That's a big shot. And again, Hayden Highsmith's had some pretty nice shots in this game. 98-81, 6:40 to go in the fourth quarter. If Boston gets to around 110, they'll be in great shape. Jason Tatum, almost could have been an offensive foul where he pushed into Hayden Highsmith, did not get the call for Miami. Tatum still with the ball. 5 on the shot clock. 6:28 to go in the fourth. Marcus Smart's 3 is off the mark. Al Horford with the offensive rebound. Marcus Smart is fouled on that drive. What an offensive rebound by Marcus Smart. The Boston Celtics keep attacking on the offensive glass. They've done a fantastic job of rebounding in this game, and that's a big reason why Boston's winning. They're making shots, but they're also rebounding the ball at a high level. And that's what you got to do in big games like this. You cannot allow your opponent to out-rebound you, especially on the offensive glass when you're missing shots. because of the fact if you're getting more offensive rebounds than the other team, you're getting more shots than the other team. And there's a better chance that the more shots you make, the more shots you take, the more shots you are going to make. And I think that's a big reason why Boston's winning, because they've gotten more shots than Miami in this game. And Marcus Smart, he hits both free throws. So that hurts Miami right there. It's 100-81. Tatum going back the other way, all the way to the rim. And the ball goes out of bounds off of Tatum. So they're going to say it's Miami ball. Tatum's furious. He thought that the ball was off of Miami. And he also thought he was fouled. Like, you can make an argument he was fouled on the arm a little bit, but they are going to give the ball back to Miami. Miami could use this to score. Trent Veron says, I'm going to call it 110-98 Celtics. That's crazy, but I do think if Boston gets to 110, then they should be good, you would think. Maybe Miami can score 26 points in the next around 6 minutes, but if Boston gets to 110 points, they'll be in great shape to win, because Miami would have to score 29 points in the next 6 minutes. That would be really hard for them to do. But like you said, that's a really good prediction. I think that's possible. Hayden Highsmith scores another 3. Hayden Highsmith's got 15 points off the bench. That's pretty solid for a guy that doesn't play that much. He's 6 of 8 from the field, 15 points. So now you got Derek White with the basketball. Celtics only up by 16. Miami trying to hang around. You know, Joe Mazzulla wants Boston to do the knockout punch to Miami. And Jaylen Brown assisting in that effort, because that's a great drive, hang time, and layup. 102-84. 18-point lead for Boston. 5:20 to go in the fourth. Duncan Robinson with the basketball. Top of the key being guarded by Robert Williams. Robinson over to Lowry. Lowry trying to drive. He gets by Robert Williams, misses the shot, misses the putback, but then Kevin Love gets another offensive rebound, and he lays it in. So again, offensive rebounds are key in points. Miami got one there. That's one time that Boston did not box out. 102-86, under 5 to go. Boston's still in great shape, but still not completely in cruise control. Boston with 5 on the shot clock. Tatum, top of the key, trying to get a screen from Robert Williams. He does. Grant Williams misses a 3 in the corner. Caleb Martin with the board. Kyle Lowry going down the floor. Miami with a bucket here. Lowry trying to make a move past Robert Williams again. He can't get by him. He kicks to Kevin Love instead. Love down low with a height advantage over Derek White. Love misses the jump hook shot. He had a good look. That could have put Miami only down by 14, but he could not get it to fall. Now Boston up 16. A couple more buckets, and you feel like Boston is in great shape. Tatum, top of the key, trying to drive. Kicks to Derek White. Derek White's hit a few threes in this game, and he hits another one. 105-86. Under 4 to go in the fourth quarter, and that might have been the knockout 3. Derek White with 24 points, and he's 6 of 8 from 3 in this game. Derek White, a very underrated player in Boston's success in this game. Kyle Lowry over to Duncan Robinson. He misses the 3 and air ball, and Kevin Love with the offensive putback and score. So Kevin Love with back-to-back offensive rebound putbacks. 105-88. 3:30 to go in the fourth quarter. Derek White with the ball being guarded by Caleb Martin. Over to Jason Tatum. Under 3:30 to go in the fourth. Tatum driving into the lane. Gets to Robert Williams. Robert Williams trying to go with a floater, and Robert Williams for 2. 107-88. 3:20 to go in the fourth. That's a good play by Robert Williams. I think there's a timeout on the floor. So with 3:20 to go, maybe Miami called a timeout, but I think it's too little too late. Boston's doing a great job. Trent Bronson, maybe I called it a little early, laughing out loud. Well, I mean, regardless, Boston, it's looking like they're in shape to win this game. I mean, Miami, they tried. I wouldn't say that they played awful, but Boston just went out there and, took advantage of the fact that Miami is shorthanded. Miami's definitely going to have to hope Gabe Vincent can return for Game 6. We don't know the status of Tyler Hero. It's going to be interesting as well. But Miami, they need to get healthy, and they're going to have to do everything they can to win Game 6, because if they can't win Game 6, then they're in a world of trouble if they have to go back to Boston. Because Boston, they're gaining momentum. Boston believes now. The Celtics believe they can win the series, I think. They didn't before Game 4 when they were down 3-0, but now they do, because now it's going to be 3-2 if Boston can hold on the last 3:20. They played a great game. Derek White knocked down a lot of threes. Marcus Smart knocked down a lot of threes. Tatum and Brown both were really solid. Robert Williams was doing a great job down low on defense. You just saw the Boston Celtics were better on the offensive and defensive end of the floor than the Heat. The Heat just did not have it. And granted, they're shorthanded. We'll have to see if they can get healthy. But Jimmy Buckets, he just did not have the type game that he's been having, recently in these playoffs. He's been fantastic in these playoff games for Miami. He just did not have the impact that he has had, recently in this game. He only had like around 10 to 15 points. He just did not have the game that he has been having. He's on the bench right now. Eric Spoelstra is resting him, knowing that Miami's probably done in this game. They're already putting some of their bench players in. Same with Boston. So this game definitely, both coaches are signaling that it's basically about over. Duncan Robinson to Omer Yurtseven, and Omer Yurtseven with the dunk. 107-90, 17-point game. 3:05 to go in the fourth. Peyton Pritchard to Derek White. Sam Hauser's into the game, and Luke Cornett as well for the Boston Celtics. So some guys we're not used to seeing usually on the floor that much are in for both teams. 2:50 to go in the fourth quarter. Derek White to Luke Cornett to Sam Hauser in the corner, and Sam Hauser's three's off the mark. Luke Cornett taps it back out, and Grant Williams saves it from going across half court. 2:40 to go in the fourth. Grant Williams to Sam Hauser. Sam Hauser's blocked by Yurtseven. Sam Hauser with the rebound, though. Peyton Pritchard misses a three, but that just ate a lot of clock for Boston. So even though they didn't score, that was a good possession for them to eat clock. Duncan Robinson on the other end, trying to drop by Cornett. He gets by, but Grant Williams defends, but he fouls Duncan Robinson. So Grant Williams did everything right on that play, except that he fouled. So 107-90, around 2:20 to go in the fourth quarter. And Duncan Robinson, he is a good free throw shooter, so you would think he'd be able to knock him down. Not really a lot of pressure in this scenario either, because of the fact that you're down and probably already out of the game. Both teams are putting in their substitute players, their bench players in. So it should be easy free throws for Duncan Robinson. Derek White, he's exiting the game as well. Joe Mazzulla going further into his bench. What a game by Boston, though. Boston, to their credit, they have not given up in this series. They believe they have a shot. And they're staying alive. And that's all you got to do. When you're down in a playoff series, you take it one game at a time. You're not going to get all 4 games back in one game. But if you're Boston, all you got to do is take it one game at a time and keep finding ways to win. And that's what they did tonight. And the Boston Celtics are going to be moving this series to 3-2. 2 to go in the fourth. Pritchard at the top of the key, trying to make a move by Hayden Highsmith. Pritchard over to Sam Hauser. Sam Hauser shoots the three, and his shot is off the mark. Hayden Highsmith with the rebound. 1:50 to go in the fourth. Hayden Highsmith trying to drive by Cornett. He goes up strong, misses the shot. Yurtseven with the offensive rebound. Miami's doing a much better job of rebounding later in this game. Miami misses another three. Duncan Robinson gets the ball back. Over to Kyle Lowry, and Lowry drains the three. 107-95. I mean, it's a 12-point game. Boston's still in good shape, but if you're Joe Mazzulla, if it gets any closer than that, you might want to call a TO. Grant Williams to Pritchard for three. Pritchard misses. Miami with the rebound. 1:20 to go in the fourth. Duncan Robinson with the basketball. Trying to drive by Hauser. He does all the way to the rim. 107-97. 1:14 to go in the fourth. 10-point game. This game should be over. It should be over, but Miami making it kind of interesting and making it really close to your prediction trend, Verona. 110-98. It's 107-97. So you're definitely really close. Under a minute to go. Boston is running the clock out. If they just score one more time, they should be safe. Peyton Pritchard with the ball. Over to Sam Hauser for a D3, and Sam Hauser knocks down the three. That's the game. That's the game right there. 110-97, 45 seconds left in the fourth. Kyle Lowry with the basketball, step back three. He's off. Pritchard with the board, and Boston should be good to go. Jackson staying alive, staying alive. That's funny, man, but Boston definitely is staying alive for sure. You are right. They'll be singing Staying Alive all night long because the Celtics, it's 3-2 now, and 2 more games. Boston could be moving on to the finals anyway after no one thought they had a shot. Miami's still in cruise control, you would think, to win the series as long as they win Game 6. As long as Miami can win at home. But the Boston Celtics are making things very interesting, and we're going to have a Game 6 on Saturday night. More playoff basketball. I'm sure that makes everybody happy for sure. Looking forward to Game 6. That's going to be on Saturday night. The Boston Celtics stayed alive. They did what they had to do. They have not given up on this series. They have not given up on their chance to go to the finals. They played really hard tonight, and they have won 110-97. It just hit final after Yurtseven airballed a 3. Boston inbounded the ball, and it is over. 110-97. That is your ball game. The conference finals are continuing. The Lakers, they might have bowed out against the Denver Nuggets, but the Nuggets are still awaiting the winner of the Miami Heat and the Boston Celtics. The Celtics are 4-0 when facing elimination in this series, in these playoffs. That is fantastic. Trent Vernon says, good game. Also says, looks like we got a series, folks. I agree with you. I'm looking forward to it. But I really appreciate you guys for being here. I really appreciate all your guys' support. You guys are the best. Like the stream down below. Subscribe to the channel if you guys are new. Share the stream out on social media. But again, most importantly, I appreciate all you guys for being here tonight. Everybody that showed up tonight, you guys are awesome. This was a fantastic game. The Boston Celtics are giving the people what they want. They want more playoff basketball, and the Celtics are not bowing out. The Miami Heat, each game that they continue to lose to the Celtics is up in the ante on them and up in the intensity. They're going to have to win. They cannot take the Celtics for granted at all in Game 6 or Game 7. The Heat, you would think they really need to get healthy. Hopefully Gabe Vincent can return. Who knows with Hero, but the Heat, there's a lot more game pressure on them now than when they were up 3-0. Boston's won the last 2, and they've got a legitimate shot to be the first team ever to come back from 3 down. That would be crazy if they can do it. Jackson says Game 6 will be fun. For sure, it's going to be in Miami. Miami's best chance yet to be able to win this series. Their best chance left because Game 7 will be back in Boston if Miami loses at home. Going to be really interesting. What a performance by Derek White, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum. They were fantastic, and Marcus Smart as well. Nana says, great game for Boston. So glad they won. Also did a great job as usual. I really appreciate that, Nana. It was a great game by Boston, and definitely glad that they won. Everybody's glad that they won to keep the series alive. Hopefully, Game 6 and Game 7, if we get to a Game 7, will be a classic. It'll be very interesting whether Miami or Boston wins. It'd be really cool for Miami to win, to be the first 8 seed, to potentially have a shot to win it all. So it'll be really cool for them to win. You know, be hopeful that they can possibly get it done, be able to first team that can do that. But it'd be also cool, hope for the Boston Celtics that they can possibly be the first team ever to come back from 3 down. It's going to be interesting either way. Hoping for both teams, fan base, they're going to have a lot of success if they can find a way to get past. It's going to be really interesting. The Gold says excellent. No disrespect to Joe Mazzulla. It took Amy and Joe to get the Celtics that far last season. They had some pretty serious injuries. Williams, like you said, I completely agree with that. 100%. Jackson would have been for the Boston Celtics. That's funny, but definitely a must win for Boston, and they got it done. What a win. 110-97. Try to be back maybe for the Saturday night game. Not 100% sure. I have to see how the schedule is going. But we've got more playoff basketball before the finals. Should be a lot of fun, but I appreciate all you guys for being here tonight. What a win for Boston. And the NBA Conference Finals are continuing. Thanks for being here, everybody. What a win for the Boston Celtics. They're staying alive. Trim Ross is see you in Miami. Always a great play-by-play. Keep it going. Appreciate you, Trim Ron. Appreciate all you guys for being here. What a win for Boston. The NBA playoffs, they've been great, and Boston's staying alive. It's going to be interesting with Miami and Boston Game 6. Should be a lot of fun.